everybody. Thanks so much. I believe in all of you, and I am confident we can do it. Thank you very much. I have just come from Buckingham Palace, where I have accepted His Majesty the King's invitation to form a government. I know people at home are fed up with politics. I hear you, and I want to be honest with you. We have not been good enough, and we need to be better. We will be.
This man has no mandate whatsoever. He didn't stand on the 2024 general election manifesto. You cannot make the biggest change in British politics in 40 years without a mandate from the British people, and it will be only decent, right and proper to call a general election on that issue and to do it now.
Our fifth Prime Minister in 4 years. Blimey. And, well, look, we want him to succeed. But will this one be any different? Andy Burnham, the new head honcho, the speed this all happened, I know this is a well-trodden debate already, is actually breathtaking. 1 minute he was Mayor of Greater Manchester. What, a month and a bit ago he wasn't even an MP. The next he's holding keys to number 10 without the country ever really having a chance to scrutinise him in a prospective prime ministerial nothing at all. We really know very little.
I think Burnham has to walk a fine line. I think that's probably what's going on, because if he were to sweep into Downing Street and say, I'm going to change everything, I'm going to fix everything, I'm going to do things completely differently to Starmer, then people would say, hold on, mate, we need a general election in that case, because no one voted for that. No one voted for you to be Prime Minister. You weren't standing in the 2024 general election. We've never seen your manifesto. Who the hell are you? That's what people would be asking.
It is therefore my honour to declare that the duly elected leader of the Labour Party is Andy Burnham.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much. I believe in all of you, and I am confident we can do it. Thank you very much. I have just come from Buckingham Palace, where I have accepted His Majesty the King's invitation.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Morning, welcome to the best show on radio, Barnsley and Phillips.
There you go. Hello. Welcome to Barnsley and Phillips on a Saturday.
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful like that, isn't it?
It's
lovely.
Delightful.
Who's going to a festival today, huh?
My inner northerner has never been more delighted, if I'm being honest.
Really?
I love this weather. Yeah, I'll see myself out.
I was like, my train came past Reading Festival, and I poked my head over and just went, yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to go to my own festival later.
All right.
I've got so many festivals this weekend. I'm festivaling up.
Oh,
so there's the local town festival.
Oh, yes,
from where I live.
Yeah.
And I checked the weather map, and apparently at 4 o'clock, by the time I get home, it's sunny again.
Oh, that's
so
good.
it's all right, it's in the countryside, so I just get the wellies on and give it large in a field.
Yeah.
Bit like that.
My local village, it's their kind of like little oral fest, they call it, so yeah.
The what fest?
Oral. O-R-R-E-L-L. It's the village that I'm from. Yes, I have to be very careful how I pronounce that.
Always spell that one.
Yeah, I do, it's natural. As you guys, it's O-R-R-E-L-L. I say it automatically every time, but they have their little festival.
fest?
Yeah, so
Oral.
so they had their little thing this weekend. Yeah, it's like a proper kind of everybody from all the pubs just descend on one at the cricket ground, basically.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, ours isn't like the big Abbey grounds
Yes,
and stuff
it's
like
that
that.
kind of
And
thing,
it's all, I think it's just mainly cover acts and stuff. I like that stuff.
I love
like
a cover
cheesing
act.
it. I love a cover act.
Yeah.
I actually like the names of cover acts.
Same.
You know, people come up with some really good stuff.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow, I'm like, do I go back to the local festival? But actually, my brother's wife and my niece are staying with me at the moment because there's a big Jesus worship festival near me as well.
Oh.
And so it's like, tomorrow I got to pick between partying or God.
Yeah.
God's going to win.
Is this church fest thing?
It's, do you know, it's not the one
Is
in
it not
Sussex.
that one? I was just going to say, because I saw that on the headlines.
Do you know what's really tragic about that? I actually felt very sorry this morning because that's actually an even bigger worship festival, and that is down in Sussex.
Yeah.
And the young man, 41-year-old, has died tragically after a sign collapsed in the wind. And this young man, we don't know his name or anything about him, is actually from Eastbourne, which is where my brother lives with his family, where my brother's wife has just come from, to come, not to that festival, but come to the one near me instead for a bit of God love. And so they're both on tenterhooks waiting to find out if they actually know the gentleman affected. So, it's quite sad. So thinking of my Christian community today, what a horrible, horrible thing.
Yeah, definitely. It was a. I have to admit, I saw the headline and I thought, well, that's just awful because he was like 40. I didn't realise he was only 41 as well.
41, yeah. I know, it is really sad. So no, we're waiting to find out which poor gentleman lost his life yesterday at that festival in Sussex. Yeah, in the meantime, by the way, if I gesticulate with just one hand, if I'm asymmetrical, it's because I've got a problem. I've got problems, people.
Yes.
Yeah, I indulged in a bit of self-harming via a medical professional. The other day, which was basically, you get older and you're like, what's that? Sit in the sun too much. What's that? Don't know what that is. And so I went to a dermatologist and I'm like, what's this? What's that? What's that? What's that? And she was like, nothing to worry about, if I'm honest with you. Stuff. And I was like, can you take the stuff away? And she was like, yeah, we'll take the stuff away. I mean, like, literally no one would have even noticed, but I knew.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm sort of regretting it now because I'm just covered in scars like Frankenstein's monster. And the stitches, particularly on my right arm, are making me feel a bit queasy. And I took off the bandage and I was like, oh, can't look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, and every time I move my arm, I feel the stitches tug. It's a bit sore, if I'm honest. And so I was in makeup, and I said to the lovely Evelina, I don't suppose you've got a plaster. I can't be looking at the stitches. I'm going to gip. And so she did. Donald Duck. So that's how I'm rolling. I got my Donald Duck plaster on, and I don't want to move this arm, which is difficult because everybody knows that I love waving my arms around in moments of drama. Talking about moments of drama, it's not a surprise. There has been a by-election on Dover District Council. I know. Highfalutin stuff on Dover District Council by-elections. Why would we be interested in that? Well, we're interested in this because the Green Party won it, which not so Dovery, really. Green, Dover, don't know. But the Green Party won it because the Reform Party were just behind, just 1% behind the Green Party. It turns out that Restore Britain was also involved in that by-election and I think got something like 10.7%. There you go. Yeah. And the argument is that, well, if that party didn't exist, Reform would have got almost 40%, which is sort of what they would poll in that neck of the woods normally.
Yeah.
And they didn't. And so now a Green councillor is in that seat instead. And it kind of comes back down to the very core of the debate that goes on and on and on, which is, what are we doing? What are we doing when we're in a situation where most of the country kind of thinks the same way as us now? They do. If you add up, maybe not most, but I think enough.
Nowhere near.
No, but
what you're about to argue, we are nowhere near. The country is not one constituency. This is what the right has to learn.
I know. Well, first past the post and all of this.
Yeah.
Let's just be a bit more basic.
Yeah.
We can get down to first past the post and the fact that Scotland's, yellow and England's turquoise and Wales is this and that bit's that and all the rest of it. But essentially, a lot of human beings are into our kind of politics, regardless of polling.
Yeah.
The over-quoted Overton window has moved.
Yes.
And people find themselves going, oh, yes, we really need to do something to change things. And we're in a situation where you think, we could get there. And you look at all the polling across Europe, and by and large, populist parties are getting up to 40%. And there's reform knocking about down in the sort of, you know, mid to late 20s. And you're like, where's your other bits gone? Well, your other bits are going to the Conservatives, your other bits are going to Restore. And what maddens me about all of this is, I remember the good old UKIP years, UKIP 1.0, Farage UKIP. When UKIP were getting around, you know, 12% of the vote, and the Tories said, you're splitting the vote, you're splitting the vote. And the argument then was, well, no, because we have a radically different policy proposition than you do.
Yeah.
I.e., they wanted to remain in the EU, they were hugging hoodies, they loved Huskies, net zero, you know, the Lisbon Treaty, won't leave the ECHR, why on earth would you want to do that, is wonderful, on and on and on, open borders, etc. And Nigel Farage went, no, hate net zero, got to leave the EU and got to really massively sort out immigration. Wind the clock forward something like 15 years, and the country's all kind of caught up and gone, yeah, that net zero thing, probably, you know, deindustrialising us and mad for the economy. And the open borders, well, that didn't work out, did it? That's crazy. And we've now left the EU, and are we ever going to do anything about it? And so it seems to me politics on the right has moved to Farageism. And if you were to, I said this yesterday, if you're going to white label the manifestos currently of the Conservative Party, Restore Britain and Reform, and just sort of hand them out to vote, they wouldn't know the difference. It's sort of pettifogging, it's pedantry, it's a number here, a slightly different approach there. By and large, it's an identical offer coming from all three. So we're just self-cannibalising.
Yes, however,
the
problem is, even with a Restore Reform Pact, you're only polling at 26%. To outlast tactical voting, you need at least 31. Even if the right all gets together and holds hands as this thing kumbaya, we're not surviving a left organised tactical vote. That's what we've actually seen since even before Makerfield. This has started to organise, and organise with a lot of money behind it. This is the terrifying thing, is we're all fussing about uniting. We're not realising that we're not even going to win, even if we, you know, finally get in the same room, let alone agree on anything. That's the scariest thing about what we're actually seeing.
But also, they're going to mess about with their franchise. I mean, look, Andy Burnham said no early election. Oh, we're going to think about PR, but not until after a general election. I mean, I said 2 years ago when Starmer came in, one of the first things the Labour Party are going to do is mess about, do R&D, which is what they did in Greater Manchester. And it's kind of what they've done in Wales.
Yes, it is.
They've done a bit of R&D. Do we want to use an alternative voting system? Do we want to, you know, do we want to go full PR? Let's see what means that we stay in power forever. And, Burnham has said, as predictably, because I knew they would, let's move to proportional representation. And what you tend to find with proportional representation is the left are just far better at gaming it.
Yes, they are. Because if you look at most of the voter migration data, it shows that they are willing to put everything to one side to vote in a particular direction. The anti-Farage vote, which it actually is stronger than it is that we like Burnham. That's the point, is that the Lib Dems and the Labour and the Greens will collapse themselves to stop Burnham. This is why making sure Burnham never won in Makerfield was so important. He became a credible vehicle for them all to rally behind. Keir Starmer never had that. That's why it started to look like the Greens were on the rise and all the rest of it. Once there was a vehicle that they could all get in and all drive forward, they knew exactly what they were doing.
We saw this in the Snap election in France 2 years ago.
That's a great example.
It's the perfect example of where essentially Rassemblement were going to be the biggest party, and all the other parties, all of them, you know, the sort of centrists to the most extreme left to some other crazy nutters, all got together to stop Rassemblement. And guess what? It stopped Rassemblement. And this is the problem. We know that the sort of muscularity of the machine of the state, the establishment, really doesn't want any of these populist parties to have a look in. And when you've got a left wing who are able to even, you know, they don't care. Labour don't care that Zach Polanski is clearly mad as a box of frogs and dangerous, as long as it stops reform. And this is the thing, they don't care either. That if we move to a position of proportional representation, do you know what's going to come out of that scenario? The ugliest thing.
Usually very extreme parties. Usually,
Islamic vote. The Muslim vote is all of a sudden, because then, at the moment, only in certain constituencies where there is basically, you know, just such a huge Muslim majority population do you get these pro-Gaza MPs popping up. When it's a vote share around the country and all Muslims in the country decide we want to have our own MPs, and they don't have to win first past the post, it's just whatever percentage of the vote that they vote for, they then get that representation. And also they turn out to vote.
Oh, yes.
I mean, let's say they turn out to vote.
I mean,
they're big enthusiasts of postal voting, and if they don't speak the language and, you know, might not know how to get to a polling station, don't worry, members of your family are going to take you there instead. And if you didn't even know that there was an election, an imam's probably going to do the voting for you. So they're very good at that. And so you could end up with a situation where, let's say, something like 10% of the vote goes to Muslim candidates, Muslim MPs for Muslim issues, which in our parliament would look something like 60-odd MPs. And all of a sudden, you really have sectarian politics
without a doubt.
and a tail wagging a dog. But are they going to care? Is Burnham going to care? No, as long as the left can stay in power, we'll usher in all of these ghoulish things. We'll decriminalise some drugs and prostitution and ban data centres. Don't you worry about that, because that's what the Greens demand. Don't you worry, we're going to, you know, try and assassinate Netanyahu because the Muslim MPs want that. But I mean, disaster.
But what I will say is that the right can't just say, oh, the establishment. It has to play the game in front of it. It has to learn to fight back and be prepared for the attacks that are coming. That's the Tories, the Reform and Restore. What I'm seeing now is everybody going, oh, well, the establishment are kind of proving us right, that they're coming for you. Yes. So build a defence, build a strategy and do something about it. It's like they're turning up to a football game and then, surprised, another team turned up on the field and are going to play to win. It is the entitlement behind it.
Could you imagine in World War II if, you know, the Allies turned around and instead of beating up the Nazis just started beating up each other?
Yeah.
Because this is where we're at. Kemi Badenoch expends more energy attacking Farage and Reform. That is all Rupert Lowe exists to do. I've never even heard Rupert Lowe mention anyone but Farage. You know, the qualifying condition for backing Restore is hating Farage, which is what is so dangerous, because that will alienate voters down a one-way street where they may never, ever go back, even if Restore ceases to exist.
That's already happening.
They've been poisoned now against the concept of reform for reasons I can't even fathom, because, like I said, the ideology, the manifestos, the policy pledges are pretty much identical. So you're just getting sucked into playground politics at the detriment of the country's future.
So I've got to say, at that point, what I would do then is I would stop trying to win votes you're never going to win back. Stop demanding that Restore kind of fall in line and start going after voters that are soft on Labour. That you need to shift the focus. Keeping demanding somebody fall in line who's not going to fall in line is a waste of time and effort.
But you and I know it's been more tactical than this, because Restore are only standing in the red wall places where the Conservatives can't do well because they are a puppet of the Conservative Party.
Again, we could keep saying that, but that doesn't change the game on the field. So, again, you then have to start saying, well, if we can't win here, where can we win? Where are Labour weak? What policies can we start to bring out to bring back Labour voters? We can keep saying that the right is fighting amongst itself.
At the end of the day...
But we also have to remember there is another side of the fight.
But all roads lead back to the same evil, plotting characters in CCHQ who just have to be in power, who start all these factions, who will play any game, who will create any sort of, you know, online party in a laboratory, as long as, you know, it will help them destroy Nigel Farage and somehow... Can we just think about the country? Because the reason why we're in such a mess is because I don't think anyone's really done that for 15 years.
They've done it before I was born.
But yeah, and the last person who did it was Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah. And then, like I said, that was before I was even born. But you're right that we have to learn to start to fight one enemy. But again, when something goes wrong, the right has to learn that sometimes it is their fault, and actually maybe try to understand that not everything is that grand conspiracy. When you bring out a policy that's only half complete and people start asking questions about it and you don't have the answers, that's not the establishment's fault, that's the whole party's fault.
This stupid, pathetic playground politics, right? It was so symbolised to me in that story as well from earlier on in the week, where Kemi Badenoch's gone over to meet Giorgia Meloni.
That one.
And somehow during the course of this private meeting between two individuals, one of which is the Prime Minister of Italy, that somehow journalists a few floors down from me are told that Meloni had said, don't do a deal with Farage, which was completely the opposite of the conversation. Now, look, there's a lot of people claiming that they knew this and exclusives. And no, it was me. I knew. I knew because I was the one who'd organised for Nigel Farage to meet Giorgia Meloni months ago. Because I used to be in the European Parliament, I know Italian MEPs from that party very well, and I'd sort of said to them, look, I think it's time those two got together. They did, and they got along extremely well. And as soon as I read that story in the Times, bam. The Italians that I know who work with Meloni messaged me just going, OMG, she's gone mad. She's messaged Kemi saying she's got to get that story gone. She's messaged Nigel saying, I'm so sorry I never said this. And so I remember, I sort of said, here, it's not true, basically. It is a pack of lies.
Yeah.
But that is what I mean. Why is she so desperate to be like, I love Giorgia Meloni, there's me, and we both hate Farage? It's just pathetic. Go over, have a meeting with Giorgia Meloni, come back and say to the general public, I've had a very constructive meeting with Giorgia Meloni where we have discussed how we can leave the ECHR, or we have discussed where if people have come through Italy to the UK, we can deport them, or we have discussed the Rwanda plan, or we have discussed... That is what you do if you are serious.
Yeah.
What you do if you're not serious is act like you're in some sort of American high school drama.
Oh, yeah, but again, I go back to, it's your central problem that you mentioned a couple of weeks ago, is that we are being polled to death.
Oh.
Like, that's the main problem. We're stuck in campaign mode.
Death by 1,000
it's
polls.
Death by 1,000 polls, is that, you know, the Tories wanted to get in the headlines because they started to slip a little bit, and that's what we're seeing.
So there
we
you
have
go.
to stop polling all the time.
On that note, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be discussing Labour leapfrogs Farage in the polls. That is genuinely the next story. Oh, you couldn't make it up. If you want to have your say, the number to call is 03444 499 1000. You can leave us a voice note on there. Or, you know, it's a Saturday. You know what we especially love. Ditties, jingles, limericks.
A poll.
A poll, yeah. Musical instruments.
Yes,
this is
we
our,
need a musical instrument.
we are now demanding that you accompany your jingles with some sort of niche musical instrument. A sackbut, perhaps. A ukulele would go down extremely well. An electric guitar. Imagine that.
Yes.
Or just the sort of like 90s demo on the keyboard.
Yeah.
The one.
Oh, just that one
finger.
button.
The demo on the keyboard.
That'd
Sing
be
to
really
that.
good. Yeah.
Or a recorder.
But be good on the recorder.
Do you know what I'd most like?
What?
Double bass, like a dum 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 dum.
I thought you were going to say something ridiculous like a didgeridoo or something.
Oh no, that would be good. Actually, no, that would be really good.
Yeah.
Oh, let's get some sort of like more ethnic instruments out as well. We like to be diverse.
There you go.
Get out your sitar.
Somebody with a lanyard has just gone woohoo.
Hey. Anyway, on that note, let's take a break and we're back after this.
Why do they have so little respect for the police?
They are feral. And let's not forget, you know, back in 2011, was it, when we had the riots across our cities, where what you think are ordinary, normal kids, people in the street, suddenly decide to start looting all the shops. Very quickly, society breaks down, and you have to have a strong police force. But, and there's a rider on this, you can't just put someone in uniform and call them a policeman. It takes years to train, and they're all leaving.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, welcome. I paused in case there was going to be a thing, but there was not. Tech Up is just sort of, it's so unpredictable.
Yeah, it's just teasing him, that's what it is.
He is, yeah.
Jingle teasing, there you go.
So here we go. I did say before the break we were going to talk about it.
Yeah.
There it is. It's the front page of the Eye. The Burnham bounce. Labour leapfrogs Farage in polls after he loses voters to Restore. Well, slightly disingenuous, perhaps, as a suggestion. We knew there was going to be a Burnham bounce, because there always is. It's like, oh, fresh, shiny. I have no idea why, when I just think he's the most sort of parochial, ribbon-cutting non-entity who hasn't got a conviction in his soul, the most inapt person to be a Prime Minister.
Yeah, I think it's because people are linking two things together that don't link. It's the Farage and the Reform drop is not because Burnham has gone up. It's the collapse of the Greens that has led to the rise of Burnham. That's what's keeping the bounce going. So I think this is the thing that people keep saying, oh, one's gone down, so the other's gone up. No, people haven't realised that the Lib Dems and the Greens have gone down at the same rate that Labour's gone up. And that's what we're actually seeing. Again, it is the anti-Farage vote moving together to stop Farage. That is what we're seeing, and people are expecting it to drop, but if your main focus is stop Farage, you don't care how everything else will fall to pieces, that you will keep voting for the one thing you think has the capability of voting Farage. The minute Burnham looks like he can't beat Farage, it will move to its next thing.
Yeah, I mean, I want to dig more into Burnham in a short while, but before we do that, let's have a chit-chat with Chris in Surrey. Hi, Chris.
Good morning, Alex. Morning, Peter.
Morning.
Hello.
Enjoying the show. Peter's just about nailed it, really, with his tactical voting that's going on, and we've been discussing it on Talk all week, haven't we? About the non-English speaking people voting en masse to get someone in, and it's always going to be a problem. It should be incumbent upon Farage and Badenoch to get together and try and find a way around this. I don't think they will, because their egos are too big. But the main problem is always that not enough people turn out at elections to vote. That's it. How do we get those people? It's easy to get the leftists to turn up because they have a vested interest in Labour.
It's funny, because it's funny you say that, because I think if most of the people who've never voted did vote, they would probably vote right. I'm guessing. Not all of them, but I think it would swing favourably more towards our brand of politics. I remember asking some sort of AI about that, and some sort of, decrepit polling that backed that up somewhere as true. And I think there's legislation coming to Parliament soon, which is the bit where the PR's in there, about voting and this, that and the other. And at one point, the Labour Party seems to be convincing... I just read the word convincing on my screen. Considering actually making voting obligatory.
I saw that.
Which, first of all, I think is just rubbish. I don't think you should be obliged to vote. I think it is, I don't think you should waste a vote, but if you just don't want to vote and don't like anybody, I don't think it should be, right, you get fined or...
I was never a fan of that idea.
But I have a feeling they will quietly drop that when they realise that actually most people, if they were forced to vote, would not be voting for... It would have worked when we had the legacy party system, just Labour or just the Conservatives.
I think you're right there.
But I think to tactically for the left it won't work now. And I think about tactically as well. Whenever you see something like this, a left-wing newspaper, a left-wing headline, and the warning that Farage is losing voters to Restore is also possibly strategic. It's sort of sending a nudge-nudge, saying to Reform, keep going further and further right, because guess what? That's going to crystallise exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
If Reform do start giving over that centre ground and start heading over to the, you know, further reaches of right-wingery, then those people who already find right-wingery monstrous are going to be even more resolute in their ambition to prevent it. So
I think you're bang on there.
I see that this is a strategic placed poll. Whenever you get a poll on the front page of a newspaper, someone's decided strategically that they need that to happen.
I always follow our good friend Gawain Taylor's rule. If you see a poll you like, find one you don't like and operate off that one.
Love old Gawain.
I think that is one of the smartest things in politics. If you look at this from a kind of operational view, you can ever have. If you find a poll you like, ignore it and find one you don't.
I mean, look, again, we are not in a general election. A general election has not been called. We could potentially be 2 years away from a general election. So I'm kind of like, you know, I think a lot can change between that. And I also think when the climate of the general election happens and the messaging does come out that the right-wing vote is splitting, where people coalesce, that will have an effect on polls as well.
Oh, yeah, without doubt.
And, you know, what we saw in 2019, of course, and you were saying, Chris, well, they don't have egos to get together and do this, that and the other. Well, actually, in 2019, Nigel Farage did take the decision to stand down pretty much every single Brexit Party candidate. He did do that. I think this time round, if the situation is that the polling looks like it does there, the onus will actually be on the other parties who aren't Reform to offer a gesture, not the party in the lead, is my general feeling about this.
I think it's the other way around, if I'm being honest, because Reform have not had a Commons majority since January. That's the reality. They might be the largest party in terms of vote share, but in terms of actually having a commanding lead, they've not had it. So realistically, what's happening is that the little parties are going to have to make the big party bend down to it and start listening to it and maybe stop kind of rather demanding it stand aside. I think that's what's really driving a lot of this, is that Rupert Lowe, for example, is probably one of the most powerful people on the right at the moment.
No, he's not. He doesn't even know what's going on.
Well, to be honest with it, all they need is a 3 to 4% vote share, and that costs.
Well, no, but this is I've said this repeatedly. Yeah. It's why they were set up to do just that. It is their reason for existing. People out there can disbelieve me as much as they like. I happen to know 100% evidentially that what I am telling you is truthful. Now, I will explain again. I would love to be able to say, here's the receipts. But unfortunately, access to something that I could then give to you materially comes with certain legal barriers that I would have to traverse first in order to be able to demonstrate this. Don't worry, I'm on it. It will happen. I will get there eventually. But I know what has gone on. Absolutely veridically. And so all I can say to you is I don't lie. It's not my business in journalism to invent stuff for my own satisfaction or titillation. I'm giving you all the honest truth. What you do with that information, how you interpret it, whether you think that's fine or not, is entirely up to you. And most people who support Restore just don't want to believe it because it actually feels a bit rubbish if the thing you've been supporting this whole time isn't what you thought it was. So I get that. I get when you get emotionally invested in something and you suddenly find out that, or you're told, actually it isn't that. That you kind of go, no, how dare you? Of course you're going to do that because it's like no one likes to feel mugged off. But you are being, basically, as far as I can tell. OK, thank you ever so much for the call from Chris in Surrey. We're going to probably stick talking about politics, uniting the right and all of that.
Nothing else to talk about.
Nothing else to talk about. There's a few other gubbins.
There's quite a few bits.
We're going to be digging around in border sections of the news as we go through the programme. But this always gets people charged up. It gets the messages coming in. And coming up after this break, we're joined by Andrew Allison, who's head of campaigns of Popular Conservatism, a man who has traversed both entities on the right, excluding the other one. So stay tuned. We will ask him what he thinks about the front page of the Eye and what's just happened in Dover after this.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, welcome back to the show, and welcome to, what are we going to call ourselves? The Brotherhood of...
The Exasperated.
The Brotherhood of the Exasperated.
No, just the Exasperated. Because we keep having the same arguments for the last 2 years, and yet we haven't moved forward.
I know.
That's what I consider myself. People always say you seem really angry. It's like,
Welcome
no,
to the
I'm
Twilight
tired.
Zone.
Yeah.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah, literally that. We're still having these same arguments with the same positions, and nobody's moving anything, and we're not.
But we've had these arguments for 20 years
Yeah.
on the right. It's like, you know, Maastricht and all that. It's always the same.
Always.
Let's speak to Andrew Allison. Welcome aboard, Andrew Allison, Head of Campaigns at Popular Conservatism. What is wrong with us? Huh? What is wrong with us on the right?
Not
that
us
actually,
specifically.
if we somehow wound our necks in and just got over ourselves, we would be in power forever. And then the world would be a much better place. Instead, we live in a socialist dystopian hellhole that's fast becoming a caliphate. And all the while, we've got Rupert Lowe gallivanting around thinking he's the big I am. Kemi Badenoch saying that Georgia Maloney doesn't like Nigel Farage. I mean, what is going on? I feel like I am trapped in some sort of juvenile detention centre with reprobates who simply just don't know how to behave.
If you need a keyboard player for your new group called The Exasperated, I will quite happily volunteer for that role, because I feel completely and utterly exasperated. I keep writing about this, I keep doing interviews like I'm doing now about this. And you're right, nothing seems to change. You seem to have parties on the right just constantly taking chunks out of each other. And as I said to Peter, it was a few weeks ago when he was standing in for you, Alex, you know, when you look at when you look at general election results, back from 1979, parties of the left have always won over parties of the right. The only reason Margaret Thatcher won in the 1980s is because the left-wing vote was split. And there was only one right-wing party, credible right-wing party anyway, and that was the Conservative Party. And of course, that has all changed. And we really need parties of the right to at least be civil to one another. At least to be open to cooperation, because when you look at many of the policies, you can't put a cigarette paper between them. And they're just arguing over absolutely nothing, and are just being, at times, gratuitously nasty about each other. And really, my mission, I think it's the mission of many people on the right, is to try and stop this, because our voters don't want this.
OK, so how is it stopped? Because someone somewhere is going to have to be magnanimous at the end of the day. Someone has to be a prime minister. There has to be a party, which therefore is the party that we club behind, one assumes, or a coalition or whatever. So what is the... Look, I mean, I know what my solution would be, which would be to just blow out of the water the whole dodgy deal that's gone on between two particular entities, and then people would see what's happened and find it kind of revolting, and I think hopefully that would be enough. But that's kind of like, you know, my Alex take. What do you think should happen? Should it be the case that Nigel Farage says, well, you know, I've waited 30 years, I'm now in a position where my right-wing entity is the biggest entity, but don't worry, we'll just stop so the Conservatives can have power again, despite having 15 years of failing to deliver? Should Rupert Lowe go, oh, that's it, folks, it's been fun, but I'm, you know, about to turn 70 and I'll just go retire on my farm in Gloucestershire, bye-bye? Should Badenoch say, look, you know, we kind of messed up for 15 years, we're still licking our wounds and getting ourselves into a ship-shaped condition where you can trust us again, so we'll sit this one out. I mean, someone somewhere is going to have to cede some ground.
I think this needs to start, Alex, at the grassroots level. I mean, we've seen parties of the left over the years just have a little nod and a wink and saying, well, that party's more likely to win in this particular council seat or this particular parliamentary seat. We won't campaign particularly hard here. We won't put out many leaflets. And just as I say, with a nod and a wink, they approve of another party's candidate to defeat a party of the right. And I think if the parties do that more as a local level, and then the leadership sees this working, then perhaps they may start realising that they're going to have to do something. Although I do think, and I've said this for the last couple of years, that when you are staring down the barrel of a general election victory for left-wing parties and this horrible left-wing coalition that it could be who could form a government after the next general election, when you're staring down the barrel of that, surely that's going to make some of them come to their senses. And that's all I can hope for.
But also, the left wing know what they're doing by stirring the pot on this one, putting certain things on the front page of certain left-wing newspapers, because they know that it's become a headache and a distraction to... It's a bit like how the Chinese mess about with countries they don't like. They sort of get inside the countries and try and divide them with little psyop campaigns. And it feels a bit like that. Let us make sure that the right wing are not being productive and are looking divided and expending their energy on internecine warfare. When actually, Andy Burnham is so kickable. I mean, he's just so kickable. The man ain't got a clue about geopolitics. He's messed up, hasn't he, when it comes to this forthcoming budget, because the defence spending plan is not going to be in there, because welfare won't be cut, because our debt will have gone way past $1 trillion, because he's not going to be making any sort of decisive moves, because he already knows he can't upset his backbenchers. He's given up. He's thrown the towel in. The man has zero conviction. I mean, if I was Nigel Farage, I'd be rubbing my hands together with glee, thinking this is the perfect opponent. He's just a muppet. And yet, off he goes.
Yeah, well, yes. Andy Burnham is basically the mayor for England. It's been said, and he's just acting like a mayor. He's dealing with all the trivial subjects, not dealing with the most important subjects, such as geopolitics, and the fact that we're overspending each year by about £150 billion a year, and we have to rein in that spending. It took us 316 years to rack up the first £1 trillion worth of debt, 10 years to rack up the second £1 trillion, and only 5 years to rack up the third £1 trillion worth of national debt. And the route we're going now, it'll take just under 8 years until we reach £4 trillion worth of national debt. These are important issues that need grasping, and all we hear from Andy Burnham is, what do you call a bread roll? He was talking about Freddos yesterday. He's playing the Smiths on a guitar. He's a very unserious man, and my opinion of him has not changed over the last 20 years. We've always known that he wanted the top job, and now he does have the top job, but I've always felt that he was never really up to it.
He's not really up to anything. I don't think he can even, stand by his own thoughts on things. I mean, let's take, for example, the assisted dying bill, which is coming back in front of Parliament. I think we actually know which side of the fence Andy Burnham's on, because historically, where he's spoken about such things, he is a Catholic. And I was reading in... what's that Catholic magazine called that they have there?
Like I would know.
Yeah, what
Herald? I could have said the Herald. That's
it might have been the Catholic Herald.
Yeah.
I was sitting next to a woman on the train who had a load of back editions, and then I took the latest one. I was reading about how Andy Burnham's Catholicism, is steering his politics, and in there it was taught. He was, I can't remember if it was an interview with him or past interviews, but it's sort of making quite clear that he is not for assisted dying for religious reasons. And yet, even there, he's like, I'm going to abstain. Can't you just back even your own opinion on something? Give other people a free vote, but have a thought in your head, for crying out loud. Say what you think for once, mate, because honestly, he's literally just like a vacant space. He's an ellipsis with eyelashes.
I haven't really noticed that he's been Prime Minister either in some ways, Alex, because, he's been Prime Minister for 6 weeks, but he hasn't made any major intervention. He's just sort of this annoyance on the sidelines who keeps popping up every now and again. But he hasn't made any real difference in the last 6 weeks. But of course, this week, next week, he's going to have to face Parliament, and his ministers are going to have to face Parliament. And I just hope that the opposition parties really do get their ducks in a row and really challenge him on these important issues. As for assisted dying, yes, he is a Catholic, only a lapsed Catholic, whereas I'm a practicing Catholic. But of course, he should be opposed to assisted dying. But even if you are in favour of assisted dying in one way or another, the bills that have been coming forward are being opposed by every disabled group, by every group in civil society.
I mean, one thing
you're right, he should just say, I'm opposed to this.
Yes.
Let's stop this.
But one thing he did say...
I'm just going to say really quickly, is this not a conscience vote, though?
Yeah.
So we wouldn't know how most MPs vote anyway.
So why come out and say I'm going to abstain? But also... he had said, I'm certain, at one point. Can you get in your dictionary corner and get the Googs out?
I'll be
Google
Susie
corner. Yeah, do that. Get in Google corner.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure that he had said something on the record recently, since becoming Prime Minister, or at the time of the Gorton and Denton, was it Gorton and Denton? Makerfield. I keep mixing them up. The Makerfield by-election. I think he said on the record that now is not the time to be bringing this forward because the NHS is in crisis and because we don't have enough hospices. Hospices are closing down because they are not funded.
Yes, he did.
He said it, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because I remember, because I thought to myself, I've made that point myself, that 2/3 of the money for hospices actually comes from their charity shops, which I think is atrocious, that we don't give people dignity in dying, you know, the taxpayer, that the government doesn't fund that. But also, something that a lot of people may not know, is because of employers' national insurance contributions and high energy bills, hospices are just going broke. So, you know, and I totally agreed with his position that you cannot go around saying, oh, do you want to kill yourself because we can't give you a bed to, you know, die in a nice, comfortable way. I mean, I think he's absolutely bang on with that. What have you got in Google corner there, love?
Yeah, so this is basically, so in principle he has said yes, but the timing is not right. Yeah, what you've just said, Alex, is essentially what he said. He said this is not the right time. We should be focusing on palliative care and making sure it is appropriately funded. Yeah. Yeah, this is essentially what he said.
Yeah, decent enough opinion. Say it then, mate.
Yeah.
I think just whip your MPs to vote against it.
Yes.
And then the bill dies. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, help the assisted dying bill assistedly die.
Yeah.
But that's just it. If that is your opinion, that you can't do this right now because we don't fund palliative care, withdraw it. Because otherwise you're allowing something ghoulish and monstrous to take place. The guy had... I remember sitting down in makeup and Matt Ford, who used to work with Tony Blair, the left-wing comedian, was there. And I've known Matt for years. And it was before Burnham... it was before the by-election in Makerfield. And he just said, the man's got no... policies, no beliefs, no convictions. He's just nothing. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, on that cheerful note, Andrew, we've not solved any of the world's problems. We've still got an ellipsis cartoon character as our Prime Minister. The right is still involved in internecine warfare. I've still got a Donald Duck plaster on my arm. And I still don't have a fork with which to eat my breakfast. All things that I'm going to try and work on in the next 1 minute. Thanks for joining us, Andrew. We're back after this break with Reform UK's leader of Essex County Council, because they are providing private security guards to defend the public from migrants. What's that all about? We're going to find out after this.
The leader of Essex County Council, a chap called Peter Harris, said he was launching Operation Vanguard to pay for private security presence in Braintree, Colchester and also Chelmsford, where migrants housed on a former military base were being taken by bus to spend free time. How have we ended up like this?
To me, is absolutely extraordinary. You know, do we want to make it ever more attractive for them? They'll be demanding soon that we give them even more money.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Peter Barnes and Alex talking lots of politics. Andy Burnham, he's a twit. The country's turned into a pile of... Look out, here comes the Marxist man.
All right. Bravo, that was genius.
I love the fact that it's always got to be in there. It's always got to be in there. I quite like the sort of extra bit of, look out, here comes a Marxist man.
Yeah. I actually love that one. That one actually might be my new favourite.
Really?
Yeah.
I do like that. That was very, very good.
That was very good. I enjoyed that.
Although it is Helen who is the queen of it all.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's...
I have a feeling, I think Helen somewhere is listening, and I think Helen is probably getting her neighbours together. I think she's like, you know, collecting instruments, laying down various musical beds and tracks. And, we did have someone who did it on AI, didn't we? We got a full voted sort of rap style.
I wasn't here for that one. I don't think.
Yeah, you were. We had the song.
Oh, yes, yeah, yes.
Fully rendered song.
Yes.
Oh, no, there was that. Oh, there's just loads.
There's just loads.
But keep them coming in.
I have to admit, I'm expecting a symphony orchestra if we're not careful.
I really want all of it. I just want to know how far we can go, how much we can extract from the creativity of the audience. All right, let us speak now to Peter Harris, who is the leader of Essex County Council for Reform UK. Peter, it's great to catch up again, because last time we spoke, only a few days ago, you'd been lifting the lid on what's going on at migrant camps, where they're basically run like holiday parks. Now, you told us in that exclusive that you got for the press that they were being bussed in with various minibuses to go and, I don't know, lurk around town centres. Now, what has transpired, and I was reading a brilliant article in The Sun about how women are terrified to go out on a Thursday, because that's when the minibus of migrants rolls into town and they sort of, I don't know, lurk around whistling at girls getting on the school bus and stuff like that. And so you've taken the unprecedented step of saying we need to protect the young girls. What are you doing? Tell us more.
Okay, good morning, Alex. Yes, last Friday, myself and my deputy leader, Russell Quirk, we visited Wethersfield's migrant camp, and we had a good tour. And you know, what we saw there was very, very concerning. You know, the 17 minibuses that go to the three towns of Colchester, Braintree, Chelmsford every single day, each loaded up with 15 migrants 3 times a day. And when we were there, we were told that there were potentially sort of 300 or so men that were in the towns. The other thing that concerned me was also the induction training, which for me just seems completely or woefully inadequate. And insofar as that we have men that are arriving here in this country from different cultures. They're all men, all aged between the ages of 18 and say 40. And we're expected to believe that the 2-day induction training is going to overturn years and years of beliefs and cultural beliefs when they arrive here, particularly the way that they respect or don't respect women and their belief.
What sort of treatment are girls getting in the constituency? Explain to me the sort of, you know, what is going on that you have felt compelled to launch Operation Vanguard?
Well, if I can just add as well, is that obviously this concern has also been backed up by government and the recent booklet.
Please don't rape leaflets, yeah.
Yeah, so, and that's exactly what it is. So, you know, I've been involved in this and looking at this for over a year now, had meetings with Wethersfield Parish Council and resident groups as well. So I've spoken to residents and listened to their concerns. They are deeply, deeply concerned about the way that these men look at them, the way that they talk to them, the way, you know, that there are issues. And there have been instances of sexual offences that have taken place. It is the fear of crime that is really the main issue here. They don't know who these men are, where they've come from, or what their intentions are. And, you know, residents, particularly women and children, are changing their behaviours in terms of the way that they come into towns. Many of them have told me that they get into the town at, say, 9 o'clock, do their shopping and get out of the town by 11 o'clock because that's when the buses come in. It's completely unacceptable. So what I have done is, in the space of a week, a record time, in the space of a week, we have organised this and made this decision. And also, yesterday I had a meeting with the Chief Constable of Essex, Chief Constable Rachel Nolan, and explained what we were doing to make sure that we're doing everything in the correct way, compliant, and that we have their support in what we're doing. So this is to reassure residents and to put the security guards there as a preventative measure to stop any instances that may arise.
So, with Operation Vanguard, what is that going to involve? I mean, first of all, can I just say thank you on behalf of all women for taking this issue seriously and, creating an action plan within the space of a week. Reading this report here, actually, the one in the Sun, a local resident has said they hang around the bus station, they whistle at the schoolgirls coming off the buses. It's horrendous. Lots of women just avoid the town entirely. It's horrible. So what is Operation Vanguard going to do to try and help things?
OK, well, we're going to deploy 2 security guards. These are going to be professionally trained security guards with the cameras, the chest cameras that will record. These are fully trained and licensed security teams. There will be 2 per town. So this will be obviously Colchester, Chelmsford and Braintree, and they will be there from 9 till 6. Obviously, this is a learning curve for us, so we've put this into position for 3 months. And during that time, I will be speaking with the Home Office. I've written to the Home Secretary and asked for an urgent meeting, but I am speaking to the Home Office in any event to set up a task and finish group where we can stop the buses, or certainly reduce the buses in significant numbers and reduce those men that are coming into towns. The Home Office, agreed to say, to work with me on this a couple of months ago, but it hasn't been done yet. So I'm going to...
Kelsa Breeze, eh? Kelsa Breeze, Peter, keep us updated. I want to know what the Home Office respond. I want to understand the justification why these people have to be put on buses and sent to town centres. I don't think that's in human rights legislation. Need to go and, lurk around a town centre and whistle at girls, according to the UN. I mean, so I really do want to know the nitty-gritty of this, and do please keep me updated as to what is going on in Essex. And all power to your elbow, because I don't care which political party it is running a campaign like that. It is important. I am sick to death of women feeling deprioritised, feeling unheard, feeling exploited and taken advantage of, especially by a load of leftist muppets with be kind hashtags.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, we're going to be taking a short break. We will, without doubt, pick up that conversation again. But after this, dystopia, Notting Hill Carnival looms. Discussing that later.
It is therefore my honour to declare that the duly elected leader of the Labour Party is Andy Burnham.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much. I believe in all of you, and I am confident we can do it. Thank you very much. I have just come from Buckingham Palace, where I have accepted His Majesty the King's invitation to form a government. I know people at home are fed up with politics. I hear you, and I want to be honest with you. We have not been good enough, and we need to be better. We will be.
This man has no mandate whatsoever. He didn't stand on the 2024 general election manifesto. You cannot make the biggest change in British politics in 40 years without a mandate from the British people, and it will be only decent, right and proper to call a general election on that issue and to do it now.
Our fifth Prime Minister in 4 years. Blimey. And, well, look, we want him to succeed. But will this one be any different? Andy Burnham, the new head honcho, the speed this all happened, I know this is a well-trodden debate already, is actually breathtaking. 1 minute he was Mayor of Greater Manchester. What, a month and a bit ago he wasn't even an MP. The next he's holding keys to number 10 without the country ever really having a chance to scrutinise him in a prospective prime ministerial nothing at all. We really know very little.
I think Burnham has to walk a fine line. I think that's probably what's going on, because if he were to sweep into Downing Street and say, I'm going to change everything, I'm going to fix everything, I'm going to do things completely differently to Starmer, then people would say, hold on, mate, we need a general election in that case, because no one voted for that. No one voted for you to be Prime Minister. You weren't standing in the 2024 general election. We've never seen your manifesto. Who the hell are you? That's what people would be asking.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
On a Saturday morning, Alex and Peter, the party's just swarming, bright minds, big smiles, and the whole world sings on the home of common sense. Let the good days swing.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh my
God, that was incredible.
Oh
my God.
God.
That was outstanding.
My God. you did that one yourself, Tech Op? Oh my God, that's a Tech Op original. He made that in the last hour.
And that is why Tech Op is Tech Op.
That is why that was just,
That was incredible.
My goodness. I just felt like I was in a sort of 80s Kylie Minogue video.
It did feel very Kylie, very early Kylie.
I loved every single second of that.
Yeah.
More than I feel like I've enjoyed anything
Yes.
in life.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even need to look forward to like
I
wedding
think end
day,
of
having
show.
children, anything. That's it. It's done.
End of
Life
show.
best moment. Sealed.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you know what? That is such a good piece of music. Do you know where I think they should play it this weekend?
The Notting Hill Carnival.
Yes, I think they should. Do you know what? I'd forgotten that thing was coming up.
I
That
had
horrible,
actually.
nasty,
Yeah.
filthy, dirty, rancid carnival. I'd forgotten. Because I don't live in London anymore.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to bother me these days. No. And then yesterday, someone said, I know it's the Notting Hill Carnival this weekend. And I said, wow. Send best wishes and prayers to Faith producing me. Because if there's anything I love to go both barrels on, it's that horrible, ugly, nasty, filthy, violent, gropey, gaggery, lanyardy, weedy, druggy, stabby hellhole of an event.
Yeah. I saw the news, Time on a news article that people who live there started boarding up their homes and leaving.
It's like tradition.
Yeah. It is. You can literally, that means that in a couple of months we're going to start talking about people who don't wear the poppy. I mean, you can tell the news stories by what year, what time of year it is. It's ridiculous.
But it is just. We were just talking because every year I'm like, I don't say cancel it. No. You want to have it? Have it. Just do it in Hyde Park.
Yeah.
Every year I make the same argument, which is actually it would be better for everybody.
Yeah.
It is totally egregious that local businesses and private citizens have to basically reinforce their house as if it's in a blimmin', hurricane.
Yeah.
To feel the spirit of the Caribbean. When actually, if you just moved it to Hyde Park, as you have Winter Wonderland and all these other things, BST Festival, whatever it's called, you can have entrances and egresses that are fully controlled.
Yep.
So therefore, you would know if someone's bringing a knife in, so people wouldn't die. You'd also know if people are trying to smuggle in illegal drugs. I'm sure people will still manage to.
Yeah.
But it would hugely reduce the amount of overall criminality.
Yeah.
There could be actually a lot more staff present to make sure that people weren't getting raped. You could also, as well as better policing the event, you'd have a lot more space, which would potentially save lives, because one of these days there's going to be a crush. People are going to die because it is so tightly packed and so unruly that there will be someone who fires a gun or something one day, and then they're all going to try and run, and people will be trampled to death. It's going to happen. And the reason they don't do this, you could even have even more food vendors, bigger speakers, a giant central stage. Why don't you get Banana Man, whatever he's called? I don't know, I just feel like he'd be a dancehall
don't know.
A dancehall artist? Is he not? I bet there's someone out there in the Caribbean called Banana Man. But, you know, you could get all of them coming, you know, big international acts. You start doing that, and I tell you, Jay-Z will be performing at the Notting Hill Carnival if it was in Hyde Park. Why would you not want that? You don't want it because the people who keep insisting it has to take place in Notting Hill do it because it's getting one over on the gentrified white middle classes who live there. It's saying we get to dictate the terms, and if we want to urinate on your doorsteps, smash in your windows and turn your streets into a living hellhole, we can. And you're not allowed to say anything about it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I remember last year there was a 34-year-old mother that was stabbed to death in front of her child. Actually, in front of her child.
Yay! What the spirit of festivals all
do you know
about.
what makes it... Yeah, what makes it worse is the fact that, you know, the city car and the mayor of London just said, oh, don't look over there. Don't look at that thing. It's just the mean right-wing nasty press that talk about that thing. Look over here, look over here. It's perverse.
I hate it.
It's perverse every year. I hate it.
Do you know who I reckon is going to agree with us?
I have a feeling it's Susan Hall.
I think Susan Hall's going to be well on board with our campaign to get this horrible thing shut down in the streets of Notting Hill. Or are you going along yourself? Are you getting out your pom-poms and your string vest and, you know, about to go dagger some cops?
I won't go because I say to others, I don't think it's safe. So it would be ridiculous if I was to go. By the way, I like the music. Very nice. And I certainly think that would be an improvement if it was played at Notting Hill. But in fairness, last year was much, much better than it's been before because they did so many arrests beforehand. They did lots of confiscations of knives before, and they've done the same this time. They've banned 330 people. They've confiscated 76 zombie knives, machete, and I think 30 flick knives, all of which they thought would be taken in. But we'll have to wait and see what happens, won't we?
I love the idea that this, you know, celebration of peace, the DEI date in the calendar that we almost worship because it's nothing but goodness and kindness and tolerance and diversity is our strength, comes with a side order of 73 zombie knives. I mean, it just tells you exactly what's going on here, how the morality is being inverse. And frankly, I mean, look, it's going to be a washout. It looks, which in a way might work out well in terms of crime. But if anything were to happen, more than already does happen, like I said, I think there'll be a crush one year, I really do. There'll be blood on Sadiq Khan's hands.
Well, there should be, because he's put an extra £4.6 million into this. This is taxpayers' money. The police are screaming for more resources. It's going to cost police, I imagine, around 16, 17 million pounds. The rest of London are going to be missing police officers the whole weekend. I'm sorry, I think it's got to a level that it's unacceptable. If it was put in Hyde Park or somewhere like that, tickets could be bought and actually it could pay for itself. How about that?
Well, no, that's exactly it. That's what I think. I mean, at least you might be able to have the parade is free because people moan if all of a sudden this important cultural event, if that's what you want to call it, is no longer widely available to the poorest marginalised people in the world, which are clearly non-white people. There will be those arguments. But if you were to turn it into something, you could have, like, the after party. You could have, you know, all these other things tacked onto the side where it would make a lot of money for the very people who go along to that. The people who want to sell their plantain cakes would all of a sudden be able to sell plantain cakes by a factor of 10. You know, it would just, I just can't, they get in the way of themselves when they could be having an amazing event, making loads of money with massive international acts. It could become, you know, a huge, everyone around the world, a lot of people around the world have heard of Notting Hill Carnival. If you did it properly and professionally, a bit like a sort of Glastonbury type thing, it would get huge amounts of international attention. It would be the wokest, best thing for any, you know, black music artist in America to try and go to. They'd be tripping over themselves to turn up. And they cut off their nose to spite their faces because it's a power game, isn't it, Susan?
Well, yes. I mean, the thing that really gets me is if you want to go and you want to put yourself at risk, down to you. If you want to take your children, that is down to you. Police officers get no option. They're not allowed to take any holiday at this time because they are all needed to be there. So they have to go. And every single year, police officers are injured. And that, to me, is the worst thing of all, because they've got no option. They have to go for work. If you choose to go, that's up to you. But there will be a crushing event at some point. Alex, you're completely right. And we sit back and watch this, which I find
No, it's a sheer wickedness. I mean, I guess we'll be having the sort of let's follow and see how many people have been stabbed this year, how many people have been raped this year. A while ago, didn't they have to, like, put together some sort of special sealed-off area for people who'd been raped or were worried that they were about to get raped? I mean, what? That is so grotesque.
Well, this is what they've done this year. There was a video that came out yesterday saying, because we know there are sexual abuse, there are sort of breakout areas for girls and women that don't feel safe. If you know that is going to happen, why on earth do we not only allow it to continue, but actually put millions and millions of pounds into it? It's astonishing. Absolutely astonishing.
No, I agree. And you can always guarantee, you could have your Notting Hill bingo card, can't you, of the certain videos you're about to see over the course of the next 48 hours. I'll start. Mine is that you're going to see some sort of poor policeman standing there who feels obliged to semi-twerk while a group of unrepressed people start dry humping their leg.
Yeah, it's disgraceful. And climbing up the traffic lights and humping those. I mean, the behaviour is appalling, absolutely appalling every single year, and yet we put up with it. And not only do we put up with it, millions of pounds this costs, millions.
I couldn't believe the very first time I actually went towards the site of the Notting Hill Carnival before it took place. I didn't know what was happening, and I could not believe my... If people haven't, from outside of London, have never gone to see the before or the aftermath, it is absolutely astonishing because all of a sudden, pretty residential streets, lovely little boutique restaurants and shops, the pastel-coloured mews cottages, places where, you know, one lot of tourists come and take selfies by blossom trees because it's so gorgeous looking, look like, I don't know, Gaza, because everything is boarded up, massive boards which then get graffiti. I mean, restaurants having to close their businesses, lose money because unruly, feral, criminal, barbaric behaviour, which is then celebrated like it's something we should be proud of as a nation.
Well, that's right. I mean, the council do really well. They clear up after the mess very quickly. They've got an incredible operation. They've got a very good leader in Kensington and Chelsea, and she makes sure that that's all done. But at the end of the day, one day we're going to have a really serious event here. I think with the rain that's due to come, that will help because less people will go. And I know that's awful, but the streets were not made for 2 million people to be roaming through under any circumstances. They're just not wide enough. So if there is a crushing event, there's nowhere for people to go.
But it's not just that. How dare they? You know, I'm sure the residents in those areas, those are exactly, because of the price of the properties, exactly the areas where Andy Burnham wants to send his house inspectors to charge you extra money on your council tax. And yet once a year, you've got to be more than happy that someone's going to curl one out in your doorstep. Or, I mean, some of the poor people where they've got... I feel sorry for the lower ground floor flats.
Yeah.
Because people go down in there and it just becomes a communal... toilet. Everywhere, you just hundreds and hundreds of people all going down, peeing, urinating all over people's houses.
Yeah, and worse. Absolutely disgraceful behaviour every single year, and we put up with this. And not only do we put up with it, our Mayor Sadiq Khan puts yet more money into it. Millions and millions. Since he's been in charge, far more money has gone into this than used to. It's ridiculous.
And the thing is, we get told that, you know, cultural events like Notting Hill Carnival are really good at building relationships between communities. I'm sorry, you just have to look at the videos that emanate from that, and it makes a lot of people have quite racist feelings, if I'm honest, because You see a group of people perpetrating behaviours that are utterly socially unacceptable, en masse, with impunity, and I think it's a terrible look for the black community. I think it does them a great disservice. I think it, you know, if I was, you know, a professional black woman and I was seeing this taking place year after year, I'd be saying, can you please just shut it down? Because it makes us look dreadful.
Yeah, I mean, I like going, and I equally know some that will not hear it. So, I mean, if you've been for years, actually, well, you can't but witness the bad behaviour because it's everywhere. But if you've never been involved or seen attacks, then possibly you'd think differently. But we've only got to look at the footage to see the issues there. And sometimes people take videos out of their windows, and you can see below people are crammed in like sardines, and it is dangerous. I'm sorry, and it's appalling. People think, well, the police are only there for 3 days. No, they're not. They've been working for weeks on this. Weeks. We haven't got enough police officers on the streets. When lots of other crimes go on get unsolved, we've got loads and loads of police officers trying to get these knives off the streets so that they don't go to carnival.
I mean, that's it. You put it in a protected area with guarded entrances and egresses, and then you'd have security companies, you know, private security companies, security guards who'd ticket check. I mean, last year they said, oh, I know what's going to help. We're going to set up knife arches. But then it was up to you if you walked through it. Yeah. I mean, it was just like, oh, yeah, I've got a zombie knife. I'm going to go through the knife arch. It was just have people going either side. It's just gratuitous, stupid gesture politics.
Oh, utterly ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. I mean, in fairness to the police, they can't do much else. There's so many different entrances, exits. It's just impossible. I feel so sorry for the police. I do. As I say, they don't. Most of them do, well, the majority of them do not want to be there. They've got no option. And if they get injured, equally, they had no option whether they went on.
No, you're right. Susan, thank you so much for joining us. Keep fighting the good fight. We've got your back on this one. It's got to move. I mean, I'm not saying cancel it. It's got to be moved.
Yeah. I mean, you're so right. The streets are not made for 2 million people. They're just not. And all it's going to take is one stampede event because, you know, like a firecracker goes off and somebody thinks it's a gunshot. It doesn't even have to be something monumental, but that amount of people are going to panic in a very small place and something horrific is going to happen. And Susan's right. It's interesting that she said that the amount of money that we spend on tidying up from this mess is astronomical, and the business costs, and the fact that this is like one of the last weekends that businesses have before schools go back and all the rest of it, all the tourists start to leave. But, you know, they're losing out on money, which then means it costs jobs, which means, you know, the knock-on effect of this carnival is astronomical. And yet, like you said, we just got to all hold hands and sing Kumbaya and think, oh, isn't it all wonderful? It's not. Well, no one is saying cancel it. We're saying just move it to a place where you can make it safe. And I don't get why everybody gets so angry about it. I just don't.
It's so vulnerable to some sort of terror attack as well. Yes. You could easily, you know, have a room in an upstairs window and bam, or you could fly drones over. I mean, it is just so... Yeah. It's so flagrantly reckless.
Yeah, it's also the fact that, you know, as Susan also said there, there's other bits of London now that are less protected. There is the knock-on effect. You know, we've got the same thing we see in Middlesbrough. I presume we'll talk about it later on. You know, we said 200 police officers, you know, up there. They're not just magic 200 police officers. You know, we've just snapped our fingers and made. They've come from other places. And that means that those areas have fewer police officers. You know, there's only a finite amount of resources, and when we flood them into something that could be better organised and better policed, you know, for the sake of diversity and all the rest of it, I'm sorry, you're just putting people at risk for the sake of it. Yeah, lanyards kill. Yeah.
It's only a matter of time. And I don't say that with relish.
No, I don't.
Because I would rather people don't get stabbed.
I actually hate talking about this.
Raped.
I hate talking about it because I know that something horrible is going to happen, and that's what I'm going to have to talk about tomorrow. I know what I'm going to have to talk about tomorrow. And that's what makes me so depressed and so sad and angry about it, is that we know something is going to happen and nobody does anything about it.
And when it does, it'll be our fault somehow.
Oh, yeah, it's always
it'll be like, you know, this is why we're racist.
Yes, exactly. We're the bad people for pointing out the bad thing.
All right. We love pointing out bad things, which is why we have happy jingles, isn't it? We're sort of light and shade here. Yeah. All the fun of the fair. You don't know whether you're going to get a salty product or a sweet one.
True.
From the buffet of brilliance that we offer you as your big brunch on a Saturday in Talk Towers. That was a very laboured analogy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
OK, now, if you want to get in touch with the show, especially, you know, with some AI music ditties, I mean, can anyone beat Tech-Op?
Yeah, I was going to say Tech-Op has
He's set a very high bar. And, you know, there's apps that can do this now. It won't take you long. Write, you know, sort of 5 lines and then tell an app to make it rap ukulele and it will. You don't even have to work that hard these days. Get us some content. 03444 999 is the number to WhatsApp your jingles to. You can, of course, WhatsApp about your thoughts and feelings on certain issues as well, and you can pick up the phone and dial that number to be patched through to the studio. The gorgeous Rory is lurking around in the corner of the gallery, waiting to pick up the phone. He's not really a lurker, actually.
No, he's not.
He couldn't
He's
lurk if he tried. He's so nice.
He's so nice.
He's like one of the most... He always wears lovely, like, cardigans as well.
Just a genuinely nice person.
Just really nice.
Yeah.
Very non-lurky.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you want to send us a text instead, it's 87222. Write the word talk before you send your text. After this, we're going to be doing calls and messages, so don't go anywhere.
The leader of Essex County Council, a chap called Peter Harris, said he was launching Operation Vanguard to pay for private security presence in Braintree, Colchester and also Chelmsford, where migrants housed on a former military base were being taken by bus to spend free time. How have we ended up like this?
To me, is absolutely extraordinary. You know, do we want to make it ever more attractive for them? They'll be demanding soon that we give them even more money.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Alex Phillips tearing up the airwaves. Yo, 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 yo.
Oh, I like the fade
There
on
you
that.
go, yeah.
I reckon I know exactly which app that's made on because me and my mates down the pub made a song called Hot Girl Summer using that app, which weirdly had that voice and that sort of
Well, there
background.
you go.
Yeah, I'm not playing that on the airwaves.
Yeah.
There's absolutely
No.
no way.
No.
I mean, Ofcom wouldn't allow even a word of it.
Yeah.
It got quite weird.
Yes.
We sat outside the pub. Even my 77-year-old mum was chucking in some lines.
Wow.
It got extremely obscene. In fact, we were trying to out obscene one another.
Yes. That's fun when that happens. And then then somebody says something and you look at them as if and you'll never look at them like the same ever again.
It made like the yin yang twins sound like a nursery rhyme. It was shocking. I still love
That
it. It's
is
one
fantastic.
of my proudest moments making that song. I'll play it for you after.
Yes, play it after.
Right, shall we do a call?
Yes,
we
please.
are joined by Robert in Hertfordshire. Hello there, Robert.
Hi. We did talk yesterday, but I just want to examine the right of British politics, and sort of we're in a unique position where the actual right used to be the Conservatives. Now it's split into factions, and I think the trouble is if you examine it, you've got Nigel is a narcissist, and so is Rupert. With Kerry Badenoch, she don't bring anything to the party except for herself. And so that is what you've got. I feel that the left are rubbing their hands together because there's factions. We're in a little bit of trouble, really, because I can't see either Rupert or Nigel giving way. And that's what's going to scupper the whole right wing. You know, we're in a unique position. We've only ever had one block of right wing, and that's been the Conservatives. Now it's factioned. So they must be rubbing their hands together.
No, of course they are.
I actually think, to be fair, I think the right has always been factional, with the Conservatives act as a wrapper for everybody.
Yeah, it used to be the broad church with no
and I think this is the big
religion.
thing, is actually... since the collapse of the Tories, and it did, I always like to say that it shattered the right, and it became lots of different fragments. It splurged everywhere, and we're trying to put it back together, but yet the cracks in it are very obvious, and it won't all come back together when it's necessary.
But what is so weird, it's sort of cracked and splurged everywhere, yet all the different components now look identical. This is what is so weird.
Yeah, it's
like I said, the Conservative Party before... I mean, in
this
an
is because we started
world,
playing real Conservative. We started trying to out-purify ourselves
in
each
an
time.
ideal world, this is what I'd love to see happen, if I got to choose. What I'd like is the Conservative Party to go back to the Cameron-style stuff and go and win back the shires that they lost to the Lib Dems. Go after Waitrose women, you know, get back behind farmers and agriculture, village fetes and tea and scones and, you know, and niceness and polite dinner parties and la-di-da. You go back down there because those people hate reform and that's why they've gone to vote for the Liberal Democrats, right? And they could easily go and defend that flank and win those people back, I am sure, because the Liberal Democrats just a Tupperware party. Ed Davey is hardly the most dazzling, you know, leader of that party. And they're not really, they don't grow, they don't go anywhere, they don't advance. Their percentage vote share just hasn't altered. What did alter was under first past the post. They suddenly scooped up a load of seats in the Tories. The Tories could get those back in a second. I have no doubt that the Cotswolds, which have, and a lot of the South West, which has gone Lib Dem yellow, would quite quickly return to Conservative blue if the Conservatives decided that was going to be their focus, which would then allow reform to go where only they can go, where the Conservatives are despised, which is the old red wall.
Yeah.
And then you'd have the broadest possible spread, and you'd have separate ideologies, but two things that could work together. So you'd also have, in that regard, an even broader sort of democracy.
Yeah, I think the problem you've got with that is the idea that reform can win the red wall. We've had two by-elections there. They've lost both of them, Makerfield and Denton and Gorton. They lost Makerfield because there was a popular Labour figure. They lost Denton and Gorton because it was a Frankenstein constituency, and the fact that reform can't win the vote in the minority communities put a firm ceiling on it. Reform can't win in the red wall if it does it alone. I'm afraid that seems to be the case. If you look at the by-elections as well, you know, the locals, they're struggling to kind of get across their kind of message, and it comes down to the economy. Reform need to get a stronger economic line. They really do. And that's what's really holding them back from tearing the Tories apart. The only reason they've got any blood still flowing through them is people still, for some reason, think that they're competent on the economy, which I will never understand, but that's what people seem to think.
Someone sent a message here, Dan, saying Restore wouldn't exist if Nigel cut a deal with Rupert. He could call him today and stop it all right now, but Nigel's ego has got the better of him. Dan, I'm sorry, I fundamentally disagree with that, because during the time when Rupert Lowe made his weird video where he said, I will do a deal with you, and these are my conditions. You've got to actually meet all of these conditions, which he knew couldn't be met. But at the same time, he made that weird video when it had a screaming row that made him go puce with some of his mates in the Tories, as far as I know. He had sent 3 legal private prosecutions trying to put Nigel in prison. Yeah, if I wanted to say to Pete Barnes, Pete, should we set up a little podcast together and work together rather than just do it in talkTV? Let's do something. At the same time, he kept getting letters from my lawyer saying, I'm going to send you to prison, you're evil. I don't think Pete Barnes would want to work with me. So, you know, I'm sorry. I know what's gone on behind the scenes with all of this. I know both gentlemen. I was, you know, in the European Parliament with both gentlemen. I have seen... I will always say that the way Reform handled this fallout, phoning the police and all of that, was madness. And actually, before the fallout even happened, I was sort of saying, look, just give Rupert something to do with it.
Yes, he needed to, yes.
Give him a project and let him just get on with
his
it.
FROI request machine was actually one thing that I think Reform missed quite a lot.
Right.
His parliamentary work was fantastic.
Yeah, set him up as a, you know, say you can have a team of people, run a research unit, do all of that stuff.
Embarrass the government again and again.
You're in charge of an inquiry into the grooming gang. You know, let him get on and do all of that stuff. But that's what I said. It wasn't just a simple fallout between two men. It was other people stirring the pot, plots, plans, strategies. And that's what is so frustrating, that people have bought the simple narratives they've read on social media and believe them. And also, you know, when it's all like, oh, well, Nigel should apologise because he said this, or Rupert should apologise because he said... I don't care. What is this? I don't care if someone said mean something about each other. You're grown men.
Yeah, I also...
Get over yourselves.
I do also think that the Reform and Restore need to stop being so inward-looking and start saying, well, you know, it's, you know, we're not going to compromise on anything. But I was like, well, you're not winning it over the general public who you need on your side. You're confirming yourselves in, like, your own kind of principle, and that's wonderful. But if nobody else shares your principle, you're not winning anything.
But there is a uniquely... I don't know if you found this, OK. So I was speaking to someone yesterday, I won't disclose who, but they have just been going through an extremely horrible and hard time at the behest of the Restore Britain trolls, of which there are many, of which I've been suggested by various people who are experts in the world of cyber, that they are paying trolls, or someone, I'm not saying they are, but someone somewhere is paying for trolls to troll very aggressively, and in quite a sinister way. Anybody who might be, who might not go along with the new religion of Restore, especially women. And there's something very, very disturbing and very dark underneath it all. And this is what I was saying to her. I said, the thing is, it's an online construction. It's an algorithmic construction more than anything. And in the same way, a bit like the manosphere, or people who are obsessed with Meghan Markle and hate Meghan Markle, or whatever, when things are sort of created largely to exist online and are fed online by, you know, viral posts, they become mad wormholes. They become sort of new religions. They become zealousy. They become fanatical. Like a lot of the sort of Gaza stuff. People just start, you know, crying and getting into histrionics because they're being fed, you know, what do they call, like, the Hollywood from Gaza? Pallywood.
Pallywood, that's
They're being fed all this, like, mad Pallywood stuff, which is
Yeah.
deliberately designed to be extremely emotive and incendiary and inciting. And the problem with a lot of Restore is it is of that domain. And so it comes with a very peculiar zealousy that you don't really see in other parties. Perhaps a bit the Green Party.
Yeah, maybe in the Greens. I will say that I don't think Reform are as saintly as some people made them out. I mean, my DMs will go through those, and trust me, the levels of abuse I get from that party when I have a pop at Reform is not particularly pleasant. A couple of people wanted to track down my parents because of where they happened to live at one point. So, yeah, I mean, again, what we're seeing on the right is the ratcheting up of rhetoric, and we're making this so personal, and that is why no one's ever going to come together, because we made this about personalities. We made this about who's a real Conservative. We made this litmus testing that if you're not this, this and this, then you are excommunicated. The purity testing is actually
so grotesque.
why I still think that even if we all get together, God knows how that'll happen, I still think the left is going to win, because at the very last minute, this will all tear apart, and, you know, that's how they'll scoot through, because once somebody will say, you're not a real Conservative, or you're not a this, or you're not a that.
And that's the thing. When things get dramatically amplified online, you can't tell who's behind things. Like, I know that there are bot farms being used and deliberately paid trolls. I know because I've been subjected to it. And firms can look at that and say, this is the percentage, and this is where they might be coming from, and this is where they're seasoned bots, these are new ones, this is how it's being, you know, and this is how sophisticated the operation is. What you can't do is ever determine who's behind it. You can't say, well, that person paid for that, or that organisation did that. And it could be multiple hands involved, because, again, you know, I speak about this a lot on this show, which is the amount that hostile states will
I was just about to
amplify
make the same point.
certain things in order to divide society.
Yeah.
So it could be any number of people who are pouring petrol onto the fire online and trying to make this particular movement big. It could be, I mean, gosh, it could be someone on the left doing it, going, this will ruin the right. It could be the right itself. It could be China. It could be, I mean,
Russia.
you know, Russia.
The GRU have an entire division dedicated to this kind of trollbot farming. They're absolutely world professionals at it.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's necessarily that you want to make one good or one bad. They just like chaos. And it's causing the chaos that
it's
they actually
increasingly becoming a feature in European politics.
It really
happened in the Romanian elections when Georgescu was told, right, that's it, you're not allowed to be president of Romania because of all the bot farms that were used online. And then it sort of got slightly revealed that they were sort of potentially organised by the EU themselves.
Yes,
to
that
then
one
use
was
the
quite an
excuse to
interesting
remove
turn in that story. I won't lie. But again, this is why we have to remember that Ukraine is the exception. Russia don't invade you; they simply kind of infect you through kind of messing around with your politics and destabilising
as to China, as to Iran, and the Islamists and the proxies, it is grey zone warfare, as I often say. Right, let us take a short break because coming up is my favourite Austrian. Do you know who?
I can't think. Yes, no.
Sebastian Kurz. No, it's not. It's Ralph Schulhammer. I had him on yesterday, but, you know, we love him so much, we just had to get him back. Yeah. So you don't have to wait much longer, Mum. I know my mum's got a crush on him. You will only have to wait a minute until you see the piercing blue eyes of our favourite professor after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Alex Phillips on a Saturday on Talk, with Riff on Hater, Peter Pan's potato, what a doc.
Don't like that one.
I know you don't, but I do.
I know you do. That annoys me more.
Mainly, I quite like the word dog, which is very underused.
It is an underused word, and I haven't been called that for a long time, but I just like to be that I'm very smart. So
I go through phases where I want to bring back sort of nice archaic English and throw it into circulation. And the one that I think that needs to be repopularised now is nary.
Nary?
Yeah. Nary did a day pass that we didn't hear about migration, which is why Nary does a day pass and we don't speak to Ralph Schulhammer.
Well done.
Hello, Ralph. How are you again, my love?
Hi, Alex. I nearly wasted a thought, right, to come back on your show.
Yay! Good Austrian application of Naryism. Love to hear it. Now, why is it that Poland, Nary seems to get into trouble with the EU? Because apparently, and I don't understand what's gone on here, but they're officially exempted from the EU's mandatory migrant relocation quota in the new Migration and Asylum Pact. They're not going to have to pay fines for refusing to take in migrants, but actually the pact is supposed to force EU member states to either accept a specific quota of migrants or contribute £20,000 financial equivalent per rejected individual. Now, Hungary had said, we ain't going to take your migrants, we'll pay the fine, thank you very much. Correct. But Poland, for some reason, doesn't have to. Why?
I mean, I hate to say it, but because the Polish delegacy was better in negotiating it. I mean, if you look at Denmark has similar exemptions, Austria has a smaller one. Within the European Union, if you're good at negotiating within the structure, you can almost always get an exemption. I think Belgium once got an exception that they don't have to allow foreign students from other EU countries to study medicine at their universities because they said they have a lack of doctors. So usually if you can construct a good argument, it is very much possible to get out of some of the European regulations. By the way, we have the same with, for example, gas from Russia, right? I mean, there are still plenty of European countries who get particular LNG from Yamal, and that's also not a problem. So this has always been the issue. The EU doesn't have a police force, it doesn't have an army, it only has courts, and the courts rest on the legitimacy. So sometimes countries can say, listen, if you don't cut us some slack in this area, we might bring the whole building down. And the Poles did this quite well.
So the thing is about Poland, you'd think that there'd be one country that the EU would go, well, yeah, well done. You know, good luck trying that one, mate. You don't really have many migrants, so you could afford a few more. Whereas, you know, you look at Spain, you look at Italy, you look at France, you look at Germany. These countries have been utterly beleaguered by the invasion of men from the Middle East and the Maghreb.
Well, the question is, how many migrants would actually like to stay in Poland, right? I think this is a little bit the unspoken part of this mandatory relocation quotas. You can put them into Poland, but if there is no mechanism to make sure that they would stay in Poland or that they would stay in Hungary or that they would stay in the Czech Republic, pretty much all of them would pack their things and then go to Germany, go to Austria, or of course go to France and then try to go to the UK. So it's one thing to put somebody in a country, but it's a quite other thing whether or not that person or those people are going to stay in those countries. I mean, this has always been the issue with Eastern Europe, that they kind of could say, you know what, even if we would open up for migrants, the same would have been true for Hungary. How many of them would actually opt to stay? For the very simple reason, not that it's not beautiful countries, they are, but they have a much less developed, if that's the correct term, welfare system. So if you get significantly more money in Vienna or Berlin, then of course you go to Vienna or Berlin or potentially London. I mean, I just recently saw this report from, I think it was in a Daily Mail, about this, I think it was a former army base in the UK, that they now built up to house migrants, and there's like, you know, gym facilities and 3 meals a day and, you know, all kinds of nice accommodations. You simply don't have that in Poland or Hungary or the Czech Republic.
Oh, I know, it's crazy. I called it Islamic Pontins or something, and people are like, you can't do that. I was like, sorry, Pontins. I think I might have called it Butlins, but Butlins are an extant company, whereas I think Pontins may not be. Anyway, what's going on in Ceuta? Because it seems to me there's extreme levels of violence now. The legacy media have turned their eyes away from that catastrophe. But again, good old social media, lots of videos there showing sort of vigilante patrols, showing just horrible things. You know, fights on beaches, fires being set, extreme vandalism, anti-migrant demonstrations, but becoming increasingly violent. And what I've heard is there are people now actively, dozens of locals, blockading roads to prevent the Red Cross coming to give aid to the asylum seekers. For anyone listening on the radio there, both of those had air quotations.
Very heavy air quotations.
Very heavy air quotations. What is going on there, Ralph?
Well, I think what we see in Spain or in Ceuta is the final hard evidence for the simple fact that the legacy media, or a significant part of the legacy media, has become propaganda outlets. I mean, they told us a couple of weeks ago that this whole thing was resolved after 24 hours. Now we know from those few bloggers and those few members of the legacy media who actually still have journalists on the ground in Ceuta that nothing could be further from the truth, as you just so eloquently described, Alex. I mean, things are escalating at the moment, not de-escalating. So it's the very opposite of regaining control. It looks more than that the authorities, especially to the local population, that they are losing control. I mean, this was an absurd situation from the beginning. If you have, and I'm still not entirely sure what the actual numbers were. We have the official numbers, and the official numbers, also to remind you, they changed from 60,000 on day one to up to 90,000 on day two. But we're talking about an enclave, or an exclave to be more precise, that has 84,000 inhabitants. So that's more than 100% increase of the population. And if there are still 10, 11, 12,000 people there, again, mostly young men, that is more or less, if you just look at the numbers, this is what an occupying force would look like. And it seems that a growing number of the people of Ceuta feels as if they are under occupation, or if at least parts of their territory is under foreign occupation.
Do we have any idea more about what actually went on, who was behind this invasion? Because without a doubt, it would appear to me that Morocco kind of averted their eyes. The various failings had to take place in order for that coordinated swarm to get in. But to coordinate the swarm, that involves someone as well. And somebody else was saying to me that a lot of the accounts pushing for these people to break into the enclave were Algerian accounts. That actually the makeup of the people who have come aren't necessarily just Moroccans, but people who have also been moved over vast swathes of land, transited across multiple countries in a continent, from the Sahel, from the Horn of Africa, so on and so forth. Do we have any more idea of what actually happened that day and why?
I mean, this is nothing new. I mean, Turkey has been using migration as a form to blackmail the European Union for decades. So this is not an entirely new form of hybrid warfare. But I would still say the following. At the end of the day, every country is responsible to protect its own borders. I mean, you see the same with the UK, right? There's this debate about the boats coming over from France, and we can have a conversation is, why are French policemen just standing by? Why don't they do anything? Why are the French authorities allowing this to happen? But ultimately, I would say the sentiment within the British population is, well, after all, it's our border. We have to protect our border, and then we take on the French, right, and ask them what the hell are they doing. And I think it's the same with Spain. This hasn't happened the first time. You have to be able, right? You have to have the provisions in place to be capable of protecting your borders. If that then means rubber bullets or whatever kind of, even potentially, of course, violent actions that might be necessary, but ultimately it's your responsibility. Morocco and Algeria and Turkey and Libya and Syria, right? They can only blackmail the Europeans. They can only curse the Europeans because we allow ourselves to be blackmailed. We allow ourselves to be cursed. I mean, can you imagine what would happen if 80,000 people would try to illegally break into China? We all know what the Chinese authorities would do, even though we don't say it.
No, we do know what they'd do. Actually, we'd know what Poland would do, because they're the one country in Europe that does seem to take frontiers very seriously. And finally, sticking with Ceuta, do we know if people have been moved on? Because there have been various reports suggesting that potentially 5,000 children, again, if you're listening on the radio, air quote, children, might have already been moved to other parts of Spain, or that they, there are people being granted residency. There was one video, you never know online anymore, whether you're looking at The Truth or AI or something from 1,000 years ago. But there were sort of images that I saw in one video of young men all sort of filing out of what looked like a processing centre, valiantly waving their, residence papers or something like that, as if they've all been said, that's fine, here you go, you're registered, you now get to stay here. I mean, they're clearly going to obfuscate, they're clearly going to suppress any information that gives us the reality of the situation, of the decisions that are being made and what is happening. But do you have any idea, if you managed to sort of delve around in all of the information out there and come to any sort of conclusion?
Well, even if we take the official reporting at the moment, the official reporting says that out of those approximately 11,000 people who are still in Ceuta, that their asylum claims are being processed. Now, there is an ongoing debate whether or not somebody whose asylum claim is being processed can then also set over to mainland Spain while this processing is taking place. So some say yes, some say no. It's a little bit absurd for me that apparently nobody even in Spain appears to know what the actual case is. But that tells you that out of these 11,000 asylum claims, if we take other European countries as an example, I would not be surprised if at least 8,000-9,000 of those asylum claims will ultimately be approved. I mean, this is what Spain has propagated. I mean, the current Spanish government under Pedro Sanchez, they were openly propagating their open door policy. They legalize everybody who's illegal in the country. Call it an approach, whatever you want to call it. So this is no surprise. So ultimately, yes, it's not going to be 80,000 people who are going to come to Europe, but I would say it's probably going to be between 8, 9, 10, 15,000 people. And don't forget one thing, Alex. This is without family reunification. So if you approve the asylum claim of one of those men, and it is mostly men, right? That means, of course, that then this person can also ask for their wife or their 2 wives and their 4 children, or this one case right now in Germany with one Syrian migrant who had 32 children, so they can bring them back. So if you say you approve 8,000, ultimately the number's gonna be, times 2, times 3, times 4 that number.
Yeah, no, you're right. And even that, I think, is an underestimate. Ralph, thank you ever so much. It's always great catching up with you. Everyone's mum's favourite, also Alex's favourite. Yeah, we love Ralph.
I'm just really happy that you brought up the fact of who organised this, because you're so right that, at the same time, going on in the background, there was actually a natural gas deal going on between Algeria and the Moroccans were trying to fight for this contract into the European Union. And I think you and Ralph are absolutely right that they're using the migrant crisis as a blackmailing tool. Right. And bringing in Turkey is a really good point, because if Turkey suddenly decide to stop policing their borders and start letting people wander across even more than they already are, you think we've got a migrant crisis now? What could potentially happen? It makes this look like child's play. It really is terrifying.
And then the idea that you can say, oh yes, we will grant you asylum, when you know it's been a country manipulating, weaponising this sort of invasion, so not actually asylum, but also you've come from Morocco.
Yeah.
I could go down to London City Airport and get a Jet 2 flight to Marrakesh now. I could just go, because it's not a war zone.
It's not a war zone. It's not a war zone. My bigger problem is I don't understand what we're now saying is an okay country to go back to.
None.
No, because that just means that we let everybody in. I don't know what the parameters are of what is a safe...
Parameters are racist.
Yeah, what is a safe country?
Nary is a parameter.
Nary is a parameter.
Nary is a parameter, non-racist.
Yeah, it seems to be. Because, even... you make a really good point. You could have all these... You say it's 8,000 people, but then you double it, triple it, and then, we've got courts over here that says, you can stay if you don't like the chicken nuggets in a different country. It's ridiculous.
Nary do our courts refuse somebody residency.
Yeah.
See? Nary. Useful word.
It is a good word.
Thank you.
Good
right,
word.
we're going to be taking a short break. When we come back, let's see what good words people have listening to the programme, because it's time for calls and texts. 03444 999 1000 is the number to dial if you want to be patched through. Normal network rate and all of that. 8722 to send a text like the word talk before you send your message. 03444 999 1000 is also the number you can use for WhatsApp. Back after this.
The leader of Essex County Council, a chap called Peter Harris, said he was launching Operation Vanguard to pay for private security presence in Braintree, Colchester and also Chelmsford, where migrants housed on a former military base were being taken by bus to spend free time. How have we ended up like this?
To me, is absolutely extraordinary. You know, do we want to make it ever more attractive for them? They'll be demanding soon that we give them even more money.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Alex Phillips on a Saturday on Talk.
The original.
The original.
The best in many respects. I mean,
the OG.
The OG.
Yeah.
You can't really take the genesis of all of it and suddenly think it's not worthy anymore. It really is the most beautiful thing that ever happened.
Classics are classics for a reason.
Yeah. It will forever be number one in our hearts.
It will. It didn't die. Gone but not forgotten.
I actually am looking forward to when Tech Op makes like a Jive Bunny-esque mega mix of the lot of it.
Okay, so give it 10 minutes. And
I know. Well, we're off air today at like quarter past or something. So it's sort of, that's a set cat amongst the pigeons. He's actually looking at me with eyes wider than saucers. The pure terror. Nary has he been requested. Such a feat to be achieved.
Yeah.
Nary have we spoken to Brian in London either. I've got to stop. I've gone Nary mad.
You've really ruined it.
I need to make Nary, if I'm honest. Right. Hi, Brian. How are you doing?
Hello, Alex. Hello, Peter.
Hey.
Right. Hey, now, I'm a member of Reform, so what I'm going to say comes from a fair place, OK? Now, the only reason Restore exists is because Nigel suffers with this right-wing purity problem where he will actually allow Hope Not Hate to decide who are going to be candidates. So he's always had this thing where if you've been a member of a certain group, you get kicked out. If you mention something that he deems extreme, such as deportations, he'll kick you out. Even though you're going to be an MP or want to be an MP, and you put yourself at risk, and he'll decide, no, you've gone too far. Hope Not Hate looked at your social media and said, we can't have that, that's too extreme. But the funny thing is, folks, 6 months later, he's saying the same thing.
I think, look, I don't know, they're not here to give a right of reply, and I wouldn't want to speculate about who might be assessing candidates and by what mechanism and so on and so forth. And so it's not the sort of thing that I can reply to because I'm not sitting in Reform HQ making decisions on their behalf. They definitely have sort of through times been quite stringent about the vetting of candidates. One would say, I mean, Peter, what do you think about this? Because as somebody who was in the Brexit Party and somebody who before that was in UKIP, unfortunately the same rules are not applied to other parties as they have been applied to Reform, previously Brexit Party, previously UKIP, where you can literally have some sort of, you know, murdering paedophile being elected to be a councillor for any other political party and no one would know.
Yeah.
And even if it's sort of squidged out somewhere online, it wouldn't make a headline anywhere. But if you happen to be anything connected to Farage, if you just so much one day you said a swear word, gone, done, front page news.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's radically unfair, but yet this goes back to my point is you know the rules, so you have to play the game as they are. So Reform's greatest weakness is its candidate selection pipeline. I mean, the number of councillors that we've lost, look at Robert Kenyon, 55% of voters, female voters in particular, were turned off by his social media comments. This is having an effect, so Reform do have to really knuckle in on this issue. You know, people might not like it, but you only get to change the rules when you're winning.
There you are. I hope that sort of adds a little bit of balance to what Brian was saying. We do our best here. Nary are we balanced, but we do our best. Don't say that to Ofcom. Nary do we get in trouble with that. I've got to stop.
Compliance
I've gone
just
Nary mad. Gone mad. Anyway, we're going to take a break, but when we come back, as per usual, it's a Saturday, and that means it's Steve Gill o'clock, live from Nashville, after this.
It is therefore my honour to declare that the duly elected leader of the Labour Party is Andy Burnham.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much. I believe in all of you, and I am confident we can do it. Thank you very much. I have just come from Buckingham Palace, where I have accepted His Majesty the King's invitation to form a government. I know people at home are fed up with politics. I hear you, and I want to be honest with you. We have not been good enough, and we need to be better. We will be.
This man has no mandate whatsoever. He didn't stand on the 2024 general election manifesto. You cannot make the biggest change in British politics in 40 years without a mandate from the British people, and it will be only decent, right and proper to call a general election on that issue and to do it now.
Our fifth Prime Minister in 4 years. Blimey. And, well, look, we want him to succeed. But will this one be any different? Andy Burnham, the new head honcho, the speed this all happened, I know this is a well-trodden debate already, is actually breathtaking. 1 minute he was Mayor of Greater Manchester. What, a month and a bit ago he wasn't even an MP. The next he's holding keys to number 10 without the country ever really having a chance to scrutinise him in a prospective prime ministerial nothing at all. We really know very little.
I think Burnham has to walk a fine line. I think that's probably what's going on, because if he were to sweep into Downing Street and say, I'm going to change everything, I'm going to fix everything, I'm going to do things completely differently to Starmer, then people would say, hold on, mate, we need a general election in that case, because no one voted for that. No one voted for you to be Prime Minister. You weren't standing in the 2024 general election. We've never seen your manifesto. Who the hell are you? That's what people would be asking.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Like the best day I've ever lived.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is, yeah.
Tech Up, was that a Tech Up original?
I mean...
That's it. Like...
My question is, what is Tech Up not doing that he should be doing while he's doing that?
Also, can I just say, if Tech Up's managed to churn out two while Tech Upping...
Yeah, while Tech Upping.
Well, you know, Vision... Well, I don't know if it's Vision Mixing, actually, because Luke's about to turn around and, like, pull a face at me if I pretend that wasn't Luke doing that stuff. But Tech Up is also... Well, I don't know what Tech Up is. Making tunes, but doing what he normally does as well, pressing buttons and stuff. So if he's able to multitask and has made... 2 brilliant AI jingles in the space of 2 hours. I'm sorry, audience.
Come on. Shake yourselves.
You're back of the class, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, there's no other explanation for it.
No, you're just unwilling.
Yeah. Nary do we get a jingle.
Yeah. I mean, do better for next week, please. Although next week I'm not here.
Oh, no.
I'm off.
Yeah.
But week after, we want loads.
Loads.
You've got 2 weeks. Yeah. 2 weeks to make as many AI jingles as possible and then just bombard us with them. Talking about music.
Oh.
There was, of course, the passing away of basically one of the best human beings that ever lived.
Or ever will live.
Or ever will. I loved Dolly.
Everybody did. That was her magic. That was her magic. Everybody loved it, no matter where you came from, what you liked, whether you liked that kind of music or not. Everybody loved Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
She was the great unifier.
Do you know who I don't think likes Dolly Parton?
Go on.
ISIS.
Even ISIS may have liked Dolly
Even
Parton.
ISIS might have
Even
liked
ISIS
Dolly.
may have liked, you know.
Well,
Yeah.
let's speak to Steve Gill, former White House official, because Steve Gill is in Nashville. Steve, before we get on to the sort of miserable, sad political news, well, it is miserable and sad that we no longer have Dolly Parton, but let's just remember how amazing a woman she is, because you sent me a message the other day of all the incredible charity work she did.
Yeah, I think people know what a great human being she was. I saw a great cartoon that really, I think, summed it up. She's entering the pearly gates in heaven, and St. Peter greets her, and she says to St. Peter, was I one of the good ones? And he goes, no, you were one of the best ones. And I think that sums it up. You know, she passes away with a net worth of over $600 million, but she had given away $600 million to charity, big and small. There was a small school system in East Tennessee where she was from that had a horrible graduation rate from high school. I think about 15% or something. She goes to the school, tells the 7th and 8th graders, I want you to buddy up, pick a partner, and if both of you graduate from high school, I'm going to give each of you $500. If one of you does not, you don't get the money. The graduation rate leaped to almost 50%, by the time those kids got to high school. And then she said, by the way, if you want to go on to college, I'm also going to give you $5,000 for college as well. Just a small thing that didn't get the headlines, didn't get the kind of attention that her imagination library, giving school books and reading books to children. 350 million books have been distributed to children in the United States with the Imagination Library that she set up because her father could not read. So again, it is untold millions of dollars that have benefited people thanks to the life, not only the music, the songwriting, the business. She was a woman at Belmont University, where I teach as an adjunct professor on international business. They have a series of classes teaching about Dolly, not just songwriting, not just music, but entrepreneurship. And the whole world is grieving.
It's just adorable. I mean, this is why it's great to be a Christian, because I know in my next life I'm going to be able to go to the coolest gig featuring like George Michael and Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
It's going to be
I'm
chef's
just going to say,
kiss.
Steve brings up a really good point there about her business acumen. People never really talk about that. She was a phenomenal businesswoman. She knew the music industry and how to hold on to the rights of her own music, because I think it was Elvis wanted the rights to I Will Always Love You. And the fact that she knew how powerful that was going to be, and she held on to it despite a lot of pressure. She never gets the credit as a businesswoman, I think is something that's always worth mentioning.
Oh.
One quick interaction I have to share with her. She was getting ready. They were talking about it. Gaylord Opryland Hotel in Nashville, which is one of the biggest hotels in the U.S. outside of Vegas, was looking at doing a water park next to the hotel, and they were going to do it a Dolly Parton water park, and they did an announcement that was coming up. I interviewed her on my radio show that morning, and then we were doing a press announcement at noon. So I show up and they're doing some pictures. So I walk up to her to do a photograph with her, and she looks at me and says, "You're a big un. You're either going to have to scooch down or scoop me up." And to my everlasting shame, I froze. I scooched instead of scooping up Dolly Parton. My one moment, and I completely blew it.
Oh, well, here you go, Steve. If I ever make it over to Nashville, I'm only 5'2". I'm quite diddy myself, so I'll allow you to scoop me up, and it'll be some sort of recompense. I'll get a wig. All right, let us now talk about serious issues, because I can tell you officially that our new Chancellor, John Healey, who had previously under the last government quit as Defence Secretary because the then Chancellor wasn't giving him the money in order to invest in defence in this country. Well, now he, as Chancellor, has decided to rip up exactly the same policy that he resigned over, and we're not going to be putting extra spending into defence. As a result, the United States is now threatening to oppose Britain's sovereignty over the Falkland Islands if Andy Burnham doesn't do anything about this. Apparently, it's a measure being drawn up by senior defence officials at the Pentagon to incentivise everyone hitting NATO's spending pledge. Now, I don't think for a minute, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, that actually if Milei decided he was going to try and take the Falkland Islands, that America would just go, yeah, go on then. I still have a feeling this is bluster and sabre rattling in order to try and push us to be where we need to be. I also understand that there are conversations going on in the Pentagon about moving US troops out of certain European countries. What do you know from the American point of view about this British headline?
You know, President Trump has had great frustration with NATO for quite a while. And you know, for a long time, you had NATO countries that were not meeting the, I think it was 2.5% obligation to fund their own defenses. They weren't paying that amount. President Trump pushed to move that to a 5% level. Many countries now are starting to do that, but you still have countries that aren't even paying for that, continuing to depend on U.S. taxpayers to fund the defense of Europe. I think NATO is funded over half or about half with U.S. tax dollars. So this is part of that continuing friction between President Trump and the NATO countries saying, look, the reason you can give free health care and free education and all this other stuff is because we're paying for your defense. And then when President Trump was needing assistance in connection with Iran, the countries were balking at saying, well, we're not going to step up and do that. So I think all of these things have contributed to President Trump seeing most of Europe, including Britain, essentially being freeloaders on U.S. taxpayers. So I think this is bigger than just this one particular instance. But I agree with you, Alex. He's not going to let Argentina and the U.K. get into some sort of conflict with the U.S. twiddling their thumbs. I think there would be intervention, but I think it's underlining that he is serious about Europe stepping up to their own defense and funding it.
Now, here's a kooky one. Here's madness, if ever I heard madness. Canada, never unknowingly anti-woke. They love woke over there, don't they? They live for woke. Apparently, their taxpayer-funded TV network, CBC, a bit like our BBC, has banned the word terrorist, that apparently their journalists are not allowed to call 9/11 a terrorist attack because the term is loaded. I mean, that to me is one of the most disgusting, offensive things I've ever heard.
Yeah, the Canadians, seem to be just intent on creating worse relations with Trump and with the U.S. They're threatening to cut off electricity to a couple of states in the U.S. because of the tariff battle. President Trump had thought he reached a deal with Canada to go back to no tariffs on either side, and then Canada balks. Canada has tariffs. They have high taxes on American oranges, and this is just to kind of tweak the U.S. because there aren't orange groves in Toronto and Vancouver and Edmonton. So they're not protecting their orange industry. This is just, how do we screw over the U.S. on this one particular item? So the idea that they would turn off the lights when all of their oil industry, all of their economy is dependent upon the U.S. And President Trump is now saying, fine, we can do worse than turn off your lights. So again, the friction is continuing. This kind of idiocy that you get from the woke Canadian leadership, they will hate the new term running around in the U.S. that is disparaging of Canadians as, quote, snow Mexicans, to disparage Canadians. So if they hate terrorists, snow Mexicans is going to make their heads explode.
Ah, snow Mexicans. Everything makes these people's heads explode. The latest in Trump derangement syndrome head explosions is Gordon Brown, who's been banging on that Trump leads the most corrupt US administration, that, what he's doing in Iran isn't okay, the might is right view of the world isn't okay. And I'm there going, dude, weren't you there with Blair when you went into Iraq? I mean, these people, what is wrong with them, Steve?
Well, and President Trump has just apparently reached a deal with Venezuela for $65 billion in shared oil. Now, I have a question about this. The idea is that the Venezuelans are going to, become partners with the U.S., make $65 billion worth of oil available. You still have to turn their essentially dirty oil into good, clean fuel and air fuel and other things. And the process of that is going to take some time to develop the refineries to do that. But it helps remove the U.S. from having a significant concern about what happens in the Middle East. If we are less dependent on their oil, because we now have, the resources of Venezuela, which is the largest oil reserves in the world, in addition to the U.S., then all of a sudden, the Gulf states, OPEC, are less relevant, and there's talk of Venezuela getting out of OPEC. So the whole globe is changing in terms of oil right now, which will make the Iranians even less capable of continuing to have any conflict in the region, will make the Gulf states even more willing to take on Iran themselves. So again, people can mock him. They can say, hey, we're losing in Iran. Nothing could be further from the truth in terms of both global economics and military actions.
Steve, you sum it all up beautifully. Thank you ever so much, as per usual, for joining us on this Saturday. And our love and prayers and thoughts go to all of Nashville for losing their best daughter, really. There you go. We're off there sweet and early today. I know. What are you going to do if your spare 45 minutes you've just won in the game of life?
Probably just queue for the tube like I usually do.
Go to Notting Hill Carnival in the rain.
I know, I don't know, actually. I don't know what I'm going to do.
I know, it feels slightly weird. I don't know either.
To be honest, I was on another station very early this morning, so I'm probably going to go home and go back to bed.
How dare you?
I know.
OK, right. OK, we're going to be taking a very short break now. When we come back the other side, let's mop things up with some messages before we do actually go off air. So there is still a last chance for you to call us. 03444 99 1000 is the number. Looking forward to having one final conversation before we go and have our extra time as we hand over to football.
Yeah.
So segue there somewhere.
Lovely, somewhere.
Back after this.
The leader of Essex County Council, a chap called Peter Harris, said he was launching Operation Vanguard to pay for private security presence in Braintree, Colchester and also Chelmsford, where migrants housed on a former military base were being taken by bus to spend free time. How have we ended up like this?
To me, is absolutely extraordinary. Do we want to make it ever more attractive for them? They'll be demanding soon that we give them even more money.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Alex Phillips on a Saturday morning, dropping ill thoughts while the whole country's yawning. The streets are still dead, I'm already past the deep sleep, analyzing the game, the secrets that the city keep. It's a contemplative mood, but my mind is moving fast, dropping gems on the future by interpreting the past, putting the world to rights with these verbal acrobatics, break down the politics and the schematics. While they catching their Z's, I'm building with the master plan. Word up, peace to the mind, the true understanding, man. Oh yeah!
Wow.
That was bedazzling.
Yes, I don't know. I'm rather lost for words.
They were.
I know, yeah.
That was...
They took all the words.
All the words, apart from Neri.
Apart from Neri.
There was no Neri in there.
Neri in
but
it.
that was absolutely... And, by the way, that wasn't made by Tech Op.
Really?
No, that
Wow.
was not a Tech Op original. That was it Terry, did you say? Terry in Essex.
Well
we
done, Terry.
salute you, Terry.
Yeah.
That was utterly magnificent. I like the fact our programme just evolves itself.
Yes.
The quiz has evolved itself out.
Yeah.
And now the jingle competition's evolved itself in.
I've started to feel like Dr. Frankenstein. We may have created a monster, like an unstoppable audience of, you know, people making jingles.
I love it.
Yes, it's
I
gonna
love
be-
it. You see, I get Paul Cox on a Sunday.
Oh,
we have
yeah,
our
yes,
own things
yeah.
that we do, our own little games,
yeah.
our
Oh,
own little
you got other monsters, have you?
we got our own little like language
Yeah.
and hand signs. We like going politique.
Oh, right, okay.
I don't know why. You'd have to be here.
Yeah.
But our thing, our little partnership is just. I think it's creative majesty.
I think
really.
it is. You know, I find it funny. I was on a thing with Paul the other week, and we were like, me and him only ever meet in corridors. We're never allowed on the same shows together.
I can't imagine how beautiful it would be to have you,
Yeah.
Paul, like all the characters.
I mean, I don't think the universe could
like
handle
a
it.
super group.
Yeah.
Like
The universe just couldn't handle so much also in one
I was
room.
trying to think of a super group, but I actually
It
couldn't.
just disappeared, yeah.
Wings? Was that a super group?
Paul McCartney and the Wings? No, I don't think so.
I don't know. Crosby, Stills, Nash and
Crosby,
Young.
there you go. Yeah.
There you go. Right, shall we do... we've got calls and voice notes. Where do we go for? Let's do call, as Bob is waiting on the line. Bob in Ludlow. Hi, Bob.
Morning, Alex and Peter. How are you both?
Good.
Good, yes.
Very merry now. Thank you for asking.
That was a very jovial intro.
Wasn't it just? I mean,
Yeah.
who needs Notting Hill Carnival when
I
you've
know,
got
yeah.
AI rap?
You don't get stabbed, and you've got that.
Yes. What's on your mind, Bob?
Yeah, so this thing with the three parties on the right, from my opinion, is the country stuffed. We don't have another general election in us to get it right because Kemi Badenoch, yeah, she might be good in her own right, but the Tory party failed us for 14 years and they did nothing but lie to us to our faces. Nobody is going to trust them. Nigel Farage is what I would call a good project manager. He's not a statesman, in my opinion. And as for Rupert Lowe, he thinks he's the second coming of Oliver Cromwell. Basically, if he ever got into power, yeah, he would probably do something about the boats and the illegal immigrants and that, but then he'd turn inward on his own people. He's a power-hungry dictator in my mind. Until we actually get a figure who can unify the right completely, regardless of what all the different factions are, etc., we are never going to come out of this basic spiral into the downward left that we're in now.
Do you know, I really started off after that advert break feeling really happy. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob. I will say, Bob, I do think you are 100% correct, but I think that only starts, and I look at how the left do this, they don't make it personal.
They never make it
personal.
No, that's true. You haven't got Andy Burnham saying Zach Polanski's a fool. Or
they never talk about. They talk about the party being something. They never make it individualised, and I think that is the key difference. We have to stop making things
in fact, I'm
as
not sure.
personal.
I'm thinking here.
And if you look,
I don't think they even attack each other's parties.
No, not really.
I don't think they even do that. I don't think. I mean, they all attack reform. That's it, basically. Everyone just attacks reform. Because I haven't heard, you know, the left particularly attack the Conservatives. No point. There's nothing left really to attack anymore. But
we listen to the Labour Party. It's always the Tories did
other.
this. It's never Kemi did this. You know, if you looked at Andy Burnham's Makerfield by-election campaign, he didn't mention reform once. He didn't even mention the party by name. He made, you know, overtures to the politics style. And I think that is the key, that the right has to stop naming people when we start having a go. We can, you know, we don't have to be in the same house.
I just don't think
street.
I've heard the Lib Dems slag off Labour
No one's ever heard
or the
of the Lib
Greens
Dems.
or they actually the left just don't attack each other.
No, I think Davey had a little pop at the Labour Party over the Andy Burnham taking a phone call from who he thought was from America, and Zach Polanski said that Andy Burnham wasn't radical enough, but that's as far as they've ever gone. As far as they've ever gone. We got this really wrong when we started making this about patriotism. We started making this about purity. As soon as those narratives creeped in, the idea that we could all be in one room just vanished, in my opinion.
I think you're right. Bob, you make a very good point.
Yeah.
It's brought us down,
yeah.
if I'm honest. But thank you for your call anyway. We still love you and we still appreciate you. Now, I've got a presenter's dilemma.
Oh, no.
Because there is left on the clock, what have I got, Tech Up, about 2 minutes? Got 2 minutes and 2 voice notes. One is 58 seconds, one's 56 seconds. You can see how this is all going to go horribly wrong.
You've only got a second.
So I'm going to have to pick one only and then pad out the rest of it. So do we go for Paul or Hev?
Go for Hev.
OK, let's hit Hev.
Good morning, Alex and Barnsley. This is Hev from Kent. Yeah, I live just along the road from Dover, and I am not very happy with the result of the by-election. But then again, this kind of proves something, doesn't it? But do you know what? Everybody keeps on about all the right united and blah-de-blah-de-blah and Kemi Badenoch and Rupert Lowe. It just gets on my nerves. In the end, it's down to the voters, and if the voters can get it in their heads that what we need to do is vote for the largest right-wing team, I was going to say team, right-wing party, then you know, it will be all good. We can't just carry on expecting the politicians to sort it out. The voters need to do it.
It's interesting. My friend's actually been part of setting up a tactical voting on the right platform where you can go in and say which right-wing party is most likely to be able to win in my area. And I think that is going to be where we end up, actually. I think that is going to sort of come into force.
I think you're right, because if you look at the way the left tactically vote, it is actually which is the vehicle to win, not who is the biggest party. It's which candidate in that area can actually win that election. That's what we need to do.
There we go. And on that note, I'm going to be clocking off for about a week now because I'm messing about at Reform Conference next weekend, so I'm not here, and I'm actually just not working tomorrow because I'm going to go and hang out with God, going to a big God Squad Bible bashing worship festival. Woohoo! Thank you for your company. It will, of course, be the wonderful Tamara Gill with Paul Cox tomorrow. You'll be back next week, not me. But whatever you're doing, have a great bank holiday.
It is therefore my honour to declare that the duly elected leader of the Labour Party is Andy Burnham.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much. I believe in all of you, and I am confident we can do it. Thank you very much. I have just come from Buckingham Palace, where I have accepted His Majesty the King's invitation to form a government. I know people at home are fed up with politics. I hear you, and I want to be honest with you. We have not been good enough, and we need to be better. We will be.
This man has no mandate whatsoever. He didn't stand on the 2024 general election manifesto. You cannot make the biggest change in British politics in 40 years without a mandate from the British people, and it will be only decent, right and proper to call a general election on that issue and to do it now.
Our fifth Prime Minister in 4 years. Blimey. And, well, look, we want him to succeed. But will this one be any different? Andy Burnham, the new head honcho, the speed this all happened, I know this is a well-trodden debate already, is actually breathtaking. 1 minute he was Mayor of Greater Manchester. What, a month and a bit ago he wasn't even an MP. The next he's holding keys to number 10 without the country ever really having a chance to scrutinise him in a prospective prime ministerial, nothing at all. We really